Whoa, 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 whoa. Am I stopping in the middle of song again? Yeah. Oh well. Why do I have 2 notifications on here? Ooh. Frame drops. Oh shit, that's not good. Raggy? That's gross. Hopefully it's gonna be fine throughout the stream. Oh, maybe it's because I still have this open. Hang on. Let me close a couple things, if this helps at all. Okay, let's go to our little scene. Wait, why am I not hearing? Hello? Why am I not coming up? Oh, there we go. For a second. Good. Yeah. Hopefully this. Okay. That's right. But oh my goodness. All right, let's turn on the music now. I've heard a lot of good things about this game. Haven't actually seen like that much about it, but I've heard like a ton of good things. I don't think I've heard a single bad thing about this game. Welcome to Our Life Beginning and Always. There are various ways you can customize and interact with the game. This tutorial is an overview of how certain features work. You can read the full tutorial from the main menu and learn about everything in detail. To start off, the game is divided into 4 time periods called steps. Step 1, childhood. Step 2, adolescence. Step 3, young adulthood. Step 4, adulthood. Our life is further divided into sets of vignettes that take place during specific periods of time. These are called moments. Moments can be played in any order or skipped entirely. You move on to the next step whenever you want by selecting that summer is ending. Steps 1 through 3 include 5 moments in each, and even more can be unlocked by purchasing DLCs. Some are out now, and other DLCs will release later on. Step 4 is an epilogue and does not include moments. A lot happens over the years that go by, especially in regard to the character you play as. You determine nearly everything about the main character: name, appearance, personality, interests, skills, pronouns, their relationship with major characters, and so on. You can decide to change the details as time goes on, with a few exceptions. Your last name, skin tone, and eye color can't be altered once set. Much of the MC's basic traits are determined on a character creation screen. As the MC grows up, more options become available on the screen. As mentioned, one of the decisions you'll get to make for your character is selecting a name. You can type in any name you like, or you can pick a preset name. Preset options are called voiced names because the name will be voiced aloud by the romantic lead. You'll get to hear him saying your name as you play through the story. Only the default name, Jamie, is included in the base game. Hundreds more can be added by getting a free voiced name expansion DLC. The full collection of names is separated out as a DLC because of how large it is. If you're not interested in that feature, you don't need to get it. Each name in the DLC belongs to or was selected by someone who supported this project. On the character creation screen, there's a cute doll you can decorate to get an idea of what your MC looks like with the different traits put together. Not all the things you decide about the MC appear on the doll. The script referring... Oh my goodness, this is so much. The script referencing what you've decided for the MC is the main way those decisions influence the game. Our life has a first-person perspective, so your character doesn't appear next to other character sprites. You only see the MC as the decorative doll and in special cut-in CG images. The cut-in CG only appear if certain choices are made. It is possible not to see any during a playthrough. There's also a second type of special MC-based screen, the interest/comfort scene. Unless you get the DLCs, the game has one love interest, Cove Holden. He grows up with the MC, and the interest/comfort screen is crucial for determining how that plays out. Interest level sets how much you like him. There are 4 levels: disinterest, fond, crush, and love. Love is only available starting in step 3, and if you are at the fond point or crush in step 2. Comfort determines how you generally react/think when it comes to him. There are 3 levels: nervous, relaxed, and direct. Your level of interest and comfort will set the type of dynamic your character has with the love interest. What you did in the past will influence the present, and feelings can change over time. You get to pick your interest/comfort near the beginning of every step. Comfort can switch between the 3 levels as you please. Your interest level can only stay the same or increase. Your current level of interest will become the new lowest option on the screen in the future. For example, if you decide to be fond in step 1, disinterest will not be available on the screen in steps 2 and 3, which will make fond the bottom level for your relationship. Interest level has an impact when it comes to physically interacting with Cove. While growing up, things are rather simple. If you get along with one another and have a close relationship, you can choose to touch him, and Cove will occasionally interact with the MC in lighthearted or comforting ways. But starting in step 3, touching can be more romantic or suggestive if you're at crush or love. Oh my god, there's actually so many instructions for this. To make sure things go nicely with that, there will be an extra choice to determine initiative level and a bonus mini tutorial that goes along with the choice to explain the feature in more detail. Basically, even if you decide you like Clove, the game won't force you to act on those feelings. You can always choose not to get together with him, choose not to accept or give romantic gestures, etc. If you do decide to date Cove, though, you can't break up with him later. Interest/comfort gets the basics down, but it's the choices that appear throughout the normal game events that decide what actually happens between the MC and Cove. And it isn't only the MC who is impacted by your decisions. Cove grows and changes over the years. How he's treated and what he experiences help shape who he becomes. What I'm hearing is this has actually like replayability. In steps 2 and steps 3, Cove's personality, appearance, and interest will vary based on what happened in the previous step. It's something of a mystery exactly how your decisions end up changing him. You can try to guess as you go along. Or if you prefer, you can also just design your own ideal Cove directly using the Cove Creator option that pops up at the beginning of steps 2 and 3. Making the choices you want is always more important than making a choice because you feel like you have to in order to get a certain result. When a choice does appear, usually you'll see that hovering the cursor over an option shows you a certain color: red, blue, or green. The color isn't related to specific points or effects. They're only there to give a bit of insight on the tone or emotion of the choice, since text alone can potentially read in more than one way. Blue tends to be casual and straightforward, yellow more emotive and reactive, green less certain and uncommitted. Though there are hundreds of options in our life, and not every choice menu falls in line with that pattern. Picking just one color every time doesn't give a gameplay benefit. Only stick to a certain type if that's what you happen to like, otherwise switch between them freely. Always pick yellow, never pick yellow. Pursue romance right from the start, never romance the love interest. Be disagreeable or amiable, none of them will lead to a bad ending. You're welcome to enjoy the events and shape the story without reservation, and then if you like, you can play again, try something new. There's only ever more good content to discover. We hope that you'll have a nice time with our life. Thank you for playing. That was actually so long. Like, for real. Kind of like peach. No, either peach or oval. I think we'll go with peach. What the fuck did you just say, Alex? I just heard something very concerning. I don't know if I seriously thought I picked up on this. Are there different greens? No, there's only one green. Oh, that's like actually perfect. I'm gonna do a ponytail and then... Oh goodness, I can only do some... Oh. There's like a different orange. That's okay. Yeah, we'll go with that. Ooh, little scars. Cool. Yes, rosy cheeks. Oh my goodness. And then fuck yeah, fuck. Okay, those glasses are actually kind of cute. Okay, that's adorable. Mm-hmm. Okay. Done. Alrighty. There's gonna be so much reading to this. I'm gonna be so tired after playing this for a little bit. I've done this before. My jaw is always at the end. It's like, kill me. Summer in Sunset Bird was a special time of year. Your usually sleepy town began to bustle. It was a popular tourist destination with the people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the fucking Christ. With people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came with both. Hey. 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 The smell of the ocean, crisp and salty, hung in the air, bringing 3 whole months of schoolless vacation with it. During the summer, your mom's... Hang on, I think I just had a stroke. During the summer, your moms didn't like you to wander too far outside your neighborhood, so you knew the area pretty well. That included the people. Families came and went from the Sunset Bird, but they mostly stayed and did what your mom called putting down roots. They built businesses, they got to know each other, and they definitely said hello to the nice young kids who waved when passing by their stores. Going for a walk around town mostly meant that the familiar, friendly residents waved or asked how your family was, or most often just said hello. Well, we'll say hi to a lot of different people. You enjoyed learning all about where they were visiting from and hoped to visit those places one day too. But today there was a man sitting on the curb outside your home. He was sitting with his head in his hands, his whole body slumped over, and you wondered if he was even a real person or a statue that had magically sprung up from the ground overnight. Or whoever or whatever he was, you had never seen him before. One thing about knowing everyone in Sunset Bird was that people who you didn't recognize really, really stood out. It was rare for tourists to venture into the residential district, as your mom called it. Or moms, sorry. But for you, not knowing who a total stranger was set off a lot of red flags. Your mom's had a talk with you and your big sister Lizzie about this kind of situation before. I probably wasn't listening, let's be fucking for real. But you weren't sure about this man yet. But you were pretty interested. You wanted to know what's going on. You slowed down, your eyes remaining fixed on the man. There was a split second where your eyes met and you knew he was aware he wasn't alone on the street anymore. Hey, you raised your eyebrows at the shout. Did he want something? Is that why he was here? The man stood up and started to make his way toward you. We'll cross our arms and stare. So, do you live around here? What's your name? You looked at the man up and down, taking in his tan skin and relaxed appearance. At least his clothes were relaxed. The way he was acting wasn't. He had sharks on his shorts and a stingray tattoo, and you wondered if he was obsessed with the ocean or something. When you made your assessment, he looked at you expectantly, waiting for an answer to his question. Yeah, I live here. That's great. He looked happy to hear it, giving you a broad smile. The fuck? He reached in his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill. It crinkled in his hand as he held it up to you. Even more confused than before, you looked back at him. Could you do me a favor? Nothing bad. Sorry, I should have... Let me start over. He cleared his throat and stood up straighter. From where you were standing, it made him look creepier. I have a son. His name is Cove, who's about your age. This guy was definitely obsessed with water, that's for sure. He wasn't the only person like that in Sunset Bird. We moved in across the street, see? He gestured towards the house that had been empty for a year, his watch catching the late afternoon sunlight reflecting off the walls. The gigantic for sale sign was finally gone. Not the last name, too. You must be Shad, right? I met your moms earlier and they told me you were 8, just like him, so... He shook the $20 bill to bring it back to your attention, a hopeful smile tilting at the corners of his mouth. Can you try to be friends with the boy? Just give it a chance and you can keep this. He's a good kid. You'll like him. but you gotta keep it a secret too, okay? It wouldn't be too friendly to say his dad sent you. Yeah, did other kids really get their parents to pay for their friendships? Had your moms done that for you and Lizzie? The thought made you frown. What do you say? Want to make a deal? Take the money! You carefully plucked the bill from his outstretched hand, grinning at the thoughts of what you could do with that much cash. Ooh. Stuffed animal. Stuffed animal. It was going to be able to come home with you. And that was just a start, you thought. The sky was the limit with this kind of amount. The man smiled at you, his eyes crinkling at the sides as he did. Great, that's... Oh, I didn't read it. I'll bring him by tomorrow. I wanted him to meet and greet with the neighbors today, but, well, I don't know where he's gotten off to. He laughed when he said that, but the way his face looked, you kind of thought he actually wanted to cry. If you see him, can you tell him to come home? He's got a pink cast and glasses. You can't miss it. You're not going to mention the blue hair, but okay. Can I keep this either way? He chuckled at you and rested his hands on his hips. You sure can. The man smiled and reached out to pat you on the head, paused before doing so, then pulled his hand away instead. Your moms are already checking around for me. Such a thoughtful group you are. Now, I better go look too. Can't put everyone else to work while I keep sitting there. I thought he might come back, and that's not what's important. I have to go. Thanks again so much. You jogged off down the street without another word. You decided to check the hills behind your house. Okay. Step 1, first sight. The chirping of crickets in the tall grass greeted you, quiet and familiar. From the top of the hill, you could see the ocean. As you walked, you listened to the crash of the waves on the shore and the seagulls squawking as they settled down for the night. Yeah, merfolk can see serpents. Sometimes you could almost convince yourself that you had seen a flash of a shiny mermaid's tail in the distance. You took in a deep breath. You wanted to try and relax and couldn't. You weren't sure what, but something told you weren't alone, so you glanced around. There was a boy sitting on the top of one hill, almost completely hidden within the long grass and the white flowers surrounding him. His head was buried in his knees, staring ahead by himself. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, feeling like you'd found a deer in the wild. Though, deer didn't have the green hair, but this new boy did. Watched as it fluttered softly around his face in the breeze. After a few more seconds, you took a step forward, then another, and then he glanced your way. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped, raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Hi. With a start, he jumped to his feet, his hands balling into his fists at his sides. He didn't say anything, he just stared at you in a strange way. He'd been crying. There were traces of tears on his cheeks and his knees, soaking the hem of his shorts, and his eyes were still shining with a few more. You had obviously caught him off guard. His pink cast seemed to glow in the twilight, though when he caught you staring at it, he hid his arm behind his back. Something the man said earlier had stuck out to you. Cove? Eyes wide, he studied you. How'd you know that? You touched the money in your pocket, feeling it crinkle beneath your fingertips. I'm all-knowing. That's a lie, tell the truth. Okay, your dad told me who you are. So, is this your hill? He gestured with his uninjured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. I can leave if it is. Let's just shake our head. While doing so, you also picked at a strand of lint on your leg. What a weird question to ask someone. Oh. He sat back down with a thump, resting his chin on his knees again. Curious about the strange new boy with the odd dad, you sat on the patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers covered the hill that covered this hill. I can't fucking read, rocked back and forth gently as the stars twinkled above. The way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers, too. The night was cool as it traveled over the ocean and up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Why are you here? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as soon as you asked the question. Almost like they'd never stopped, his tears started up again with a vengeance. My parents, they don't want to live together with me anymore. The tears fell fast and heavy over his flushed cheek, sticking in his dark lashes. My mom made my dad leave, and he took me with him, and now we have a house here, and I want to go home. The outburst caught you off guard, but by the time he was done wailing, Cove's chest was heaving with exhaustion. Alright. I'm gonna lay back a little bit. Is that a thing I can do? That'd be kind of cool. I can! Whoa! Oh god, that's... What in the hell is this mapping? Oh, goodness. He sniffled and removed his glasses, wiping at his eyes and the back of his hand before he put them back on again. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mom. Yeah, stop crying, bitch. He slipped his hands underneath his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyelids. Cove wound himself up again for another long crying fit. You were tired of seeing him crying so much already. He should learn to toughen up. Babies cried, but from way off in the distance you heard your parents.
Cove?
Kids, where'd you go? Cove looked at you, tears still clinging to his cheeks. Don't tell them we're here. I don't want to go back to that house. I want to go home. It'll be okay. You were struck by a sudden need to reassure Cove. It's not going to be all fun, but isn't he your family too? Yeah, I guess. Then you can count on him when you really, really need him. You shot him a grin and pushed yourself to your feet. Slowly, Cove stood up with you, still looking a little reluctant. His dad's voice rang out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked toward the sound of his dad's voice, silent, then turned away while rubbing his not bandaged arm. I still don't want to go. Are you sure you'd have to stay outside the whole night and sleep on wet grass? Before Cove could say anything else, you heard his dad's voice again, even closer than before. There you are, bud. The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly, all their eyes landed on you and they rushed over. Both your moms were— oh my god, they're so pretty. Both your moms were at your side in a split second, faces filled with worry. You're here after all. We had been at the park to check for Cove and then heard what happened earlier when you met the new neighbor. I thought you might have gone off further away. Why is everybody acting like— no, we were just sitting in the grass. Thank God you're both fine. Why can't it be— I like how it's mommy and mom. They could have done mom 1 and mom number 2. Were you two having fun out here? You looked over at Cove, who was wiggling against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. Oh yeah, I think I'm gonna marry him, actually. You nodded, smiling slightly. Oh, that's wonderful. Finally letting go of his squirming, scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the three of you. God, okay, my shoulder hurts so bad. I was at work, and I stood up, and we have, like, boxes on the walls that we put stuff in, and I hit my shoulder really hard on one of them, and I like, literally cut my shoulder, and it comes and goes, but, like, fuck, it hurts real bad right now. Thanks very much for finding him. I really don't know this neighborhood. Good thing Shad knows this area so well. Absolutely, we should be getting home now. It's been a long day for us all. Say goodbye, Cove. The two of them walked off into the darkness, heading toward the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what, we'll have a proper play date tomorrow, okay? Your new friend's dad wanted to bring him by to see you and Lizzie. How does that sound? Can I show him my stuff? Oh, goodness.
Of course.
I'm getting text messages. Then okay. Both your moms laughed, the sounds overlapping in a warm, familiar chorus. Mommy put her arm around your shoulder and led you towards the path. Satisfied, then more than a little ready to go to bed after your long, exciting day, you followed them home. Okay. Comfort, we're gonna put it direct. And, we'll do indifferent right now. I'm really only playing with this kid because I'm being paid. Early the next morning, you were poking at your food, eating it slowly. Your sister Lizzie had run out earlier to go play, but you'd stayed put. Today, just like your moms had promised, Cove was coming over to hang out. Excited to see your new friend again? Oh my god, they're so pretty! We're not friends, really. You hoped your moms knew you were joking about marrying Cove. It would be bad if they had started planning a whole wedding.
Okay.
With that said, are you done with your breakfast? Yeah. With all the exasperation an 8-year-old can muster, you looked at your empty cereal bowl, then at Mom. Okay, attitude, kid, we see. Good job. He should be here soon. Cleanup began, and then on cue, there was a knock. It was hesitant, like the person wasn't sure if they were in the right place. Still loud, though. We need to get a more obvious doorbell. I know. Chad, could you get it? Because Mom said so, you wandered over to the door. I hate the last names, but, you know. I don't know. Last names throw me off in general. Hey, family. Thanks for... Hey, family. Thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your moms called him, and his son were here. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of the living room, and when he wasn't crying. With his dad sitting in front of him and Mom and Mommy behind you, you and Cove looked at each other. You studied Cove apathetically. This was the parents' plan, not yours. Not seeming any more excited than you were, he just stared back. Oh, I can choose what type of bracelet? Definitely crystals. You wanna go play in your room? Sure. I've got some cool stuff. Come look.
Take care.
Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids. Play nice. You led him to your room, puffing out your chest a little bit at the sight of your treasures. There were lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, and a window to look out. It was a great room. You hadn't had anybody to show it to in a while, but you were really proud of it. He leaned in a little closer to one of your drawings on the wall. I like this. I don't know. We're just gonna say thanks. You're welcome. You smiled at him. You were proud of that particular piece of art, and you were glad he noticed it. He turned around to look at the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the walls. Yeah, it's kind of awkward. You wanted to say something but didn't know what, so you let him keep looking. Then his eyes landed on the tiny box of beach things you'd collected, tucked away by your door. He took a step towards it before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? That's the hoard of stuff I found on the beach.
Oh.
Do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box to the middle of the room, you and Cove flopped down next to it. I do. Look. You gestured to a piece at the bottom, still covered with specks of sand. This is a good collection. You got the sense from his tone of voice that he wasn't just saying it to be nice or be like Shiloh. He actually meant it. I forgot about Shiloh. Shiloh? He's friends with my older sister, and he's supposed to hang out here this afternoon. Do I have to see him? You don't have to do anything, but he's gonna be here. Anyway, I found this gigantic shell stuck to an even bigger rock. You pulled out a seashell after seashell, explaining where you'd gotten each one and holding them up against the light. There were big ones, small ones, pink, purple, and orange. Most of them you washed off in the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning off the sand. Collection was so huge and varied that you had lots of funny stories to tell for all of them. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or the shells themselves, Cove listened with what looked like the full force of his attention. Like when you almost got pinched by a hermit crab while searching for shells, and after watching him scuttle back into the ocean, you found another empty shell that was almost a twin to his home. It was a new experience to be the center of such dedicated focus, even if it was only directed at the shells. Kids, come down to the living room. You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mommy wasn't giving you much of a chance to hang around. Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. Huh? Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. You guessed it was because he thinks you found each other by accident, not that a parent made it happen. Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you were both escorted downstairs and deposited in the living room, ready for Shiloh's visit. The two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought the box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Yeah, you should have asked, bitch. No. Okay, but be careful. I will. You weren't sure if you could trust someone else with your treasures yet, so you stayed next to him while he opened the lid and peered inside. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. Oh. Like he hadn't spoken aloud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this is the best one of them. I like a different best one. I can show it to you. You reached into the box to take out the one that you preferred. Cove looked on with interest. The two of you were still sitting on the floor looking through your collection of beach findings when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. Since the person hadn't knocked, you figured it was probably Shiloh. He knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? You nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell what he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. It's just Shiloh, and where would you even go? He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked to the back of the house. I can go out the window. He was already walking towards it. Scrambling to think of something to say, you stepped forward, then paused. Oh, ooh, which one do I... Yeah, Shiloh's like the least scary person in my life. Every single bunny rabbit is scarier than Shiloh. But I don't want to see him. I don't know him. I won't encourage. He's not bad. Really, Shiloh's going to be more scared of you than you are of him. Okay. Shiloh piped his head into the living room. It was impossible to know for sure if he'd heard what you'd been saying or not, but you guess he had. Hi. Okay, truly that is the least scary thing child alive. Good God. Cove shot you an uneasy glance. I'm Shiloh. It's nice to meet you. Yeah, you have a lot of freckles. Right, I do. What are you guys doing? We're looking at shells.
Can I do it too?
Cove shrugged, then looked back at your box of beach findings. What about that one? The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at beach things some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much anything else. This is a scallop shell I found last week. I kept it because it looks neat. It's a pretty color, kind of like my cast. The beautiful glittering pink did look a little bit like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice color. Okay.
Oh?
Is it your favorite? Not really. What is? Maybe green or blue. It might be yellow. Oh, those are all cool.
Yes.
There are better colors. Says you. Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Lizzie was his favorite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know. Aww. Where'd she go? I think she's at the beach, probably. Is she playing at her park? Cove's eyes lit up at the mention of the park, and he looks towards you. There's a park? Yep, but it's old. Can you show me? I want to go. He started getting up before you had even answered, and Shiloh jumped up beside him in excitement. Really? You do too? Right, Shad? The park is fun. No. Fuck the park. Oh. I still want to go, see? You do? Yeah. Like a puppy watching a ping pong match, Shiloh looks back and forth between you and Cove. So, are we gonna go find Lizzie? I don't know. I never really wanted to see her. I just want to check the park out. Adrift without any direction, Shiloh finally turned to you. Okay. He perked up. Both boys wanted to go. It was only fair. After getting permissions from your moms, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your moms that was so short that she could always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swinging back and forth. Yeah, this is kind of a lame park. It doesn't got a merry-go-round. Hey, Lizzie. Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide. Chad, Shiloh, hi. Oh, he definitely has a crush on her. She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud on the sand. In a split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to stand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you, but now Cove was here. You weren't sure if this was even an improvement. Who's that? It's Cove. He's new.
Hi.
I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes here to... Oh my god, I can English. Nobody ever comes here to play, so this is where we get together. She gestured widely with her arms as to present the area to the newcomer. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wriggle your toes through the warm sand. Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas. Aw, fuck, Lizzie. You are? Yeah, I am. Who else could handle the job? Lizzie's the oldest. By a lot. Mom said you're Shad's age.
Yeah.
That's so. I'm still the only one in the group with double digits. What about the other kids? Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Shiloh is just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful with the oldies. Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth. Oh. For a second, it looks like he might cry again. But something in his eyes shifted, and he looked back at Lizzie. What kind of old people? Like moms and dads or grandparents? Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids. Why? We haven't done anything. Stop saying stuff like that. You interjected quickly, hoping Cove wouldn't start crying again. He sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't even looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Shiloh was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and Chad in school. You'll see tons of kids there once summer is over. I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Shiloh looked down at the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot too. All the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Shiloh's discomfort at how weird she thought Cove was at something else entirely, you didn't really know, but she laughed, face scrunching up. Okay. Welcome to the Sunset Bird Cove. Take a seat, put up your feet, and get used to it. Ugh is right. I was told somebody was going to get me my water, but no, didn't happen. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days, when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, and the sun and the way the sun and lunch and the beach were. That first summer, you hadn't really been interested in him one way or another. He just kind of seemed like a fact of life, somebody you met because he was there. Of course, that was only the start of things. Okay. Ooh, now we can choose moments. Ghost? Oh my goodness. Okay, I might need to get DLC for this game. See what grown-up is. One sweltering summer day, you were in the living room with Cove, listening to the sounds of birds chattering outside the window while you lay across the rug on the floor. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier, and your moms had left the two of you along with Lizzie to play amongst yourself. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to your mommy, so your sister was starting to get impatient waiting for her golf class that evening. The three of you had trouble finding something fun to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt that it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. It's never too warm to play with fuzzy toy animals. Oh my god. What is wrong with this child? Then suddenly a light came to Busy's brown eyes, and her smile spread wide across her face. Having an idea gave her a new wave of energy. Since we're stuck inside, we should be adults. They don't play outdoors anyways. We're always inside. They're always inside telling everybody they're too busy to play. Why? Duh. I said why, and it'll be fun. What do they do inside that we don't, besides use the phone a lot? Excluding a small huff, Lizzie decides to ignore Cove. What do you think? Do you want to? I don't know. Please, when have I ever had a bad idea? Whenever we play with you? I wasn't asking you. Sorry, I have other stuff to do. Fine, whatever, play by yourself. Just don't be loud. Me and Cove will do it ourselves, it's decided. He looked ahead blankly, I guess. Now go on. Nodding goodbye to the two of them, you trailed off to find something else to do. Like promised, Cove stayed put with Lizzie for the next couple of hours while you, oh my goodness, let's read a book. You could hear them talking as you sat with the book by the window. You opened the picture book in your lap and immediately got lost in the story. It was about a little donkey who grew up on a farm, making friends with all the animals and pretending to be like them. You liked the part where she swam around in the pond with the ducks. It always made you laugh. You finished that book and went to go get another, but before you could choose one, you noticed that Lizzie and Cove's voices were getting much louder. Curious about what was happening, you cranked your neck to hear them better. At first, you mostly picked up on Lizzie's high-pitched shouting, giving orders, telling Cove what to do, yelling about sports and the Olympics. That was pretty typical for Lizzie, so there was nothing new there. But then you started hearing Cove more and more as time went on. It sounded like they weren't having a very good time. Let's go see what's going on. You abandoned your cozy reading spot to go check what was happening with them. Why are you guys shouting so much? From up close, you could see that your sister was red-faced and pouting, while Cove mostly just looked confused. Neither one paid you mind. Shut up! Being so unreasonable, I don't get what you want. This game doesn't make sense. It does. You have to be realistic. I said that. I don't get... Oh. Oopsie. But you're not. Their yelling was noisy. Your parents were probably going to get mad, or maybe the neighbors. No, I haven't fed the mice. I haven't fed... I'm not feeding them. I might have, though. You had no idea what to do to make them stop at this point. It seemed like the two of them would just keep working each other up as long as they could. Had the two of them been arguing like this the whole time? Thankfully, like a greeting card angel, Mom Like a what? Like a greeting card angel? Never heard that expression before. Mom walked into the room. Lizzie rushed over to her, hanging onto the hem of her skirt and poking out her tongue at Cove. Lizzie, fuck, oh my god, that's her, the mom. Lizzie, Shad, it's time to get ready to go. Sorry you have to leave already, Cove. Their mommy said she'll walk you. Oh, like Lizzie and Mai. Okay, their mommy said she'll walk you home so you won't be left in the cold. Cove was still glaring at Lizzie, his face flushed with anger. I can go by myself. But without giving Mom a chance to stop him, Cove stood up and stalked out of the room, shoulders drawn tight. Okay. Worried, Mom turned to look down at you and Lizzie. You two were playing nice with her new friend, weren't you? We're gonna tell the truth. Fuck Lizzie. No, Lizzie and Cove kept yelling at each other. In the pocket on my backpack? They wouldn't stop fighting about everything. Your sister's jaw dropped, looking betrayed as Mom put both her hands on her hips. Elizabeth, I told you to be kind to him. He's kind of having a hard time right now. Lizzie's mouth closed back up, replaced by a tiny frown. I know, I tried, but he was... No boats. We both know you can show someone a great time when you put your mind to it. We're going to apologize to Cove and his dad over the phone when he gets home from work tonight. Lizzie hung her head, dragging a foot across the ground in front of her. Okay, Mom. Good girl. You caught pieces of Lizzie sulking to herself about how it was his fault, too, but it was over. All right, we better get a move on. Let's go, kids. How do you say that? Oh my goodness, you got a kitty! Oh my baba. Give her here. I want to go. Hi, baby. Hi. Are you being sweet? Being a sweet girl? Yeah? Let's go, kids. Neolani, where did you... I think that's how you say it? Neolani? I don't know. Where did you leave the car keys? Mom hustled you all out the door. Alex, get her. Mom hustled you all out the door, and you noticed during the car ride to golf practice that Lizzie was quieter than usual. She was usually the first one to request which music to listen to in the car, but she didn't say anything. Your parents noticed she wasn't in the mood to be bothered. They gave her space, and Mommy just asked you what you'd like to listen to. Fucking metal. Let's play some goddamn metal. No? Okay. Eventually, Lizzie came around and started singing along with you. You both knew all the words, and your moms even sang along too. When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hour watching Lizzie hit things with other girls her age. I'm gonna take a sip of my water. Okay. You didn't know much about golf, but you could tell that she really liked it, so you sat with your moms and tried to puzzle it out. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up in the house all day, and your skin... What the fuck? Why did I say skin? And you stretched out your legs to let the last few minutes of sun warm your skin. When the sun was finally out of sight, dipping behind the horizon, you all got ready to leave. Instead of going straight home, your moms took the family out to dinner. You went to a restaurant you had all been going to ever since you could remember. Earlier, you'd only caught the tail end of your sister's argument with Cove, but you could kind of tell that this all helped Lizzie be less angry. The car ride home was quiet, with only the radio providing escape from the silence. Lizzie had been in better spirits now, but the closer you got to your neighborhood, the more she wiggled in her seat and frowned out the window. She knew what was coming when you all got home. Clearly, she was dreading it. Soon enough, Mom was turning onto your street, then reversing into the driveway. When she cut the ignition, it was dead silent. No one spoke. Only unbuckled their seatbelts and opened their doors. Lizzie was the last one out. Once everyone was inside and done taking off their shoes, she propped her hands on her hips. Now then, Mr. Holden's car is in his driveway, so he should be back from work. That's good news, isn't it, Elizabeth? You and Cove can hash things out before the day's done. Lizzie didn't complain or put up a fight. Her head ducked so she didn't have to meet anyone's eyes. She nodded once. Good. Let's move this to the kitchen. Mom went over to the house phone, the rest of you following behind her. Mommy put a gentle hand on Lizzie's shoulder as they walked side by side. You watched them from the back. This was only happening because you told on Lizzie. Yeah, good. Fuck her. Yeah, we don't regret shit. No regrets. You frowned to yourself, recalling how Cove had left in such a bad way. Mom had told you to be on your best behavior with Cove, but Lizzie hadn't listened. She upset him even more than usual, even. The four of you stood around the kitchen in a lopsided square. All eyes were on Lizzie, who kept gazing on at her feet. You remember the number for Cove's house, don't you, honey? Lizzie jerked her head in another nod, sullen. Without further prompting, she stepped forward and she began to dial. Mom marched over and pressed a button on the base. Suddenly, you could hear the phone ringing, but she turned on the speaker. The phone rang a couple of times, then stopped. Mr. Holden's warm voice came through the other end. Evening, Holden's residence. Lizzie looked over at Mommy, unsure. She nodded encouragingly. Hi, Mr. Holden. It's, Lizzie. Can I talk to Cove?
Absolutely.
Lizzie? What a surprise. Of course you can say hey to the boy. He sounded cheery as usual, though definitely meant it when he said it was a surprise. You thought hard. You were sure that your sister had never called... Huh? And you were sure that your sister had never called Cove's house before. Mom spoke up before Mr. Holden or Lizzie could say anything more. Her arms were crossed over her chest, her lips pursed. Hi, Cliff. Neolani, Shad and I are here too. Good evening. We're sorry to bother you so late. God, I really like her nose piercing. Okay, this one, I don't know if she's mom or mommy, but she's really fucking pretty, dude. We're gonna say nothing to him. He's kind of weird. You shifted from one foot to another, but remained where you were. The gang's all there, huh? Is something the matter? His voice grew a bit concerned. Mommy was quick to reassure him. Okay, she's mommy. Yeah, she is mommy. The one who looks like a mommy is mommy. Got it. No, well, yes, but it's going to be okay. Lizzie and Cove got into a bit of a fight today. We were hoping that the two of them could talk and make it up. Is this a good time for you and Cove? A fight? Cove didn't tell me anything about that when I came home. It does explain the funk he's been in tonight. He chuckled lightly. Despite that, it didn't seem like he really thought it was funny. Anyways, it's good. You didn't catch us at a bad time. I'll go grab him for you. There was some shuffling on the other end. He must not have gone far because you could still hear him calling out, Cove, there's someone on the phone for you. After a beat of silence, there was more muffled talking from Cove's dad. Come on, bud. Lizzie called just so she could talk to you. It took a bit of back and forth, though the conversation seemed one-sided since you couldn't hear Cove properly. Eventually, Cove took the phone from his dad.
Hi.
Hello? You opened your mouth only for Mommy to catch your eye and shake her head softly. You frowned but didn't say anything. Hey, it's Lizzie. Yeah, I know. Dad told me. Cove's tone was defensive. Lizzie turned to Mom, scowling. One stern look from her through... Huh? I don't think... Can I fucking... Also... I wanted to make sure. God, I'm fucking... We might gotta take a snack break during this. Lizzie turned to Mom, scowling. One stern look from her though, and Lizzie turned away.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I just called to say I'm sorry for not playing nice with you today. I won't do it again. Yes, she will. Lizzie's eyes were downcast, her voice low. You could tell she felt uncomfortable apologizing to Cove in front of everyone. Honestly, fair. Like, they really said, damn, the whole family's gonna be around, even the younger sister. She was still being genuine about feeling bad. Cove must have realized that too, because he sighed quietly. I want gold. Lizzie was momentarily stunned by the silent demand. You had no idea what it meant. All right, you win the gold. Okay, I guess. I'm sorry too. A sense of relief washed over everyone at his acceptance of the apology. Mom uncrossed her arms while Mommy's shoulders relaxed. Lizzie's eyebrows raised up. You wondered if she thought that he'd refuse her apology. Dad, can I get off the phone now? You couldn't see him, but it was obvious Cove felt awkward about the situation. He had come off uncomfortable the entire time, really. Yeah, you can go back to your room if you want. Be sure to say goodbye first, though. Bye, Lizzie. Bye. With that said, Cove must have handed the phone to his dad and left, since Mr. Holden spoke up.
That's a relief.
All's well that ends well, as they say. Thanks for arranging this. I'm sure he appreciates it. As Mom replied, Lizzie tugged on Mommy's hand to catch her attention. Can I go now, too?
Job.
Sure, sweetie. Thank you very much for apologizing to Cove. Mom flashed a brief smile at Lizzie and nodded her agreement. Given permission to leave, Lizzie scurried off towards the stairs. She seemed to be feeling much better after the incident behind her. Mom and Mommy returned to the phone, taking it off the speaker. They continued talking to Mr. Holden. You couldn't tell what about. You were glad that it was the end of it all. Lizzie and Cove might not get along, and probably still won't, but they weren't mad at each other anymore. Mom and Mommy weren't upset either. Everything was finally back to normal. With that thought, you retreated to your own room, and with the spring in your step. Okay. Shopping, long days, maybe Sandcastle? Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. What? Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When him, and Shiloh sat out on the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. There was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with his cast. The waves washed a shingle shell to the shore, glittering in blue, another reminder of the places he could not go. From what you'd heard about Cove's old life so far, in tiny pieces and fragments, you could tell that he'd do anything to be able to get the cast off. Even cut it off himself if he could. You thought about how this summer last year must have been totally different. About how his summer last year must have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mom and dad. But now he was here, with you and Shiloh and Lizzie and everyone else, and he couldn't even go into the sea. This town wasn't bad, it had all your favorite things in it, but sitting there on the same beach that you'd grown up on, you could understand that not everybody else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. You watched him from the corner of your eye, quietly, as he finally said aloud what you'd been pondering. I wish I could go in. The water? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You're gonna be able to do it soon. Cove only sighed in response. Apparently soon wasn't soon enough. It's so pretty. The ocean? And huge. There could be anything out there, like mermaids. Yeah. I wish you didn't have a cast. Me too. Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation, Cove turned back to the water. But as he looked away, something about Shiloh's slow, careful movements caught his eyes. Hey, are you building a sandcastle? Sort of. I was only playing around while you were talking. I'm listening. Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before. It's nothing special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away. Well, how do you do it then? Shiloh's cheeks lit up, and you could tell that he was a little bit uncomfortable to have Cove's expectant stare on him. I'll play too. There's nothing else to do. Okay. He put his hands back onto his seashells and in sand and nodded. I don't do a lot. Like, here's how I like to get a house started. Shiloh, focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him, guided Cove through the process. You happily used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you to each have humble structures prepared. That's all, kind of. You can do anything now, like make it bigger, add some seashells, carve a pretty pattern. I bet you'll have great ideas. Okay. I'm gonna make it better. Mine is gonna be a real castle. Cool, this is gonna be a house. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to make a mansion. You look at the base of your sandcastle and decided to design a mansion. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your own work. The boys were the same. Even Shiloh didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else as he usually did. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what you've built. It seems you've done so fast. Fuck. It seems you've done so fast because they already searched around. Oh, it seems you got done so fast because they already searched around for extra decorations. Shiloh had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff, and Cove had a lot of the shelves, but there were still options. The first thing you reached for was sea glass. It was the best fit for your mansion, you decided. It was see-through and sparkly. So you displayed it in front and center, making it the headline feature of your whole thing. Pleased with your result, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Shiloh seemed super immersed still. You knew you could probably sneak a peek at either one's work. I want to see the castle. The castle Cove had built looked surprisingly tidy, especially for someone in a cast. He must have worked really hard. He wasn't even finished digging the huge gaping moat in the front, but it was already enormous. You got the sense from the enthusiasm he was digging that the doctor was probably going to find a bunch of sand when he finally removed the pink plaster. The silence then was broken. What's on... Oh my god, I can't read. What's on top of yours, Shiloh? You peeked closer and discovered something shiny sticking out of Shiloh's sand chimney. Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. It looks like smoke. It's good. That's smart. You should be an architect. You'd be good at it, Shiloh. Shiloh smiled without a word. And that was that for the current topic. Dad, can I see what you did? Sure. You began surveying your work, and all you really knew about mansions was that they were supposed to be big, so you'd gone really big. It was the size of the country club that Lizzie played golf at, compared to the Cove and Shiloh's buildings, probably even bigger. Shiloh quickly decided to jump in the new conversation. Hey Shad, what did you do? It's a mansion. It looks great. Your house is so big. It's not a big house, it's a mansion. Being a house bad? No. But we made our own place. No, but we each... Oh my god, reading. No, but we each made our own place. Nobody is the same. I think we are. Cove raised an eyebrow at that. If something is the only one of that thing, that makes it special. Yeah, for sandcastles and stuff. People too. My dad always says how everybody is their own man, a real individual. I don't think I'm very special. Why not? Nobody else is you. Shiloh simply shook his head. I'm not different. A beat passed between the two. Cove then looked down at his work again. Okay. He didn't seem to be bothered by leaving the disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. My dad tried to get me to make sandcastles for the first time when we came to this beach. I didn't want to. Cove trailed off. Again, there was another moment of silence. Shiloh shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. You didn't think he noticed that Shiloh was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your moms met my dad, Shed? You cocked your head, thinking about it briefly. I wasn't there. They didn't tell me. I just remember what happened when I met your dad. Mr. Holdman had been a weird stranger then. Well, he still was kind of strange. No other parent acted like him, but you knew him better at this point. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked about him and people being unique. You were pulled from your thoughts when Cove continued. Oh, well, I was there. I don't think my mom has met your dad. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Shad's parents and my dad met the same day I met her. I'm gonna say what happened. Shiloh frowned himself, ducking his head. His hat cast a shadow over his face. You could still tell he was upset about not being included in Cove's choice of topic. That was kind of boring for him, though giving people their own turn to say the things they want is important too. Fuck. We'll just let him finish this story. Shiloh could talk about the stuff after Cove had a chance to share what he still planned on. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of things with us. Only some stuff that would fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. I sat in there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't want to get out because I knew Dad would make me look around the new house. I really didn't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. I saw your moms. They were in a car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand, then went over to the front of your house where he started talking to them. I don't know what they said. I couldn't hear it. But he couldn't see me anymore since he was looking the other way. But I opened the car door and left. I wanted to get away and went behind the houses. I found those hills there, the ones that we met at for the first time. Cove nodded, then stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. What? That all you wanted to say? Cove's brow wrinkled, like he didn't understand why you were surprised. That's all that happened. You really gotta get better at telling stories. Cove didn't seem to accept the critique whatsoever. But that was how our parents met. I didn't make this story up. That's not the problem. Shiloh's mouth twisted in a scowl of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why'd you bring that up anyway? There was a slight shrug of Cove's shoulders. I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved here. Dad showed me the beach first before we went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason. Bro, your dad is clearly a surfer, bro. He's obviously like a surf bro. Cove's brows furrowed a little more as he quietly raked his hands through the sand. I get it. You thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping that Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped in his head. Shiloh fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand had made Cove aware of his presence again. They looked at each other, and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey, Shiloh. Yeah? Why are you always turning so red, even when nothing is happening? Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you nor Shiloh had expected that to be how he got included in the conversation again. I don't know, I guess. Okay, it's kind of weird. Shiloh's eyes were wide with embarrassment and his lips twitched, and he was blushing even harder than before. Maybe it wasn't only this. Perhaps it was simply the last straw, but it was a big deal to Shiloh, a huge deal. He didn't just look sad. He seemed almost panicked. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what, but you soon got the answer. Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody's named Cove. Who asked you to come? It was probably just your dad bugging Shad's family some more because you don't want to have anyone else who will ever play with you. Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to move past. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he'd get upset about, though you hadn't ever known what kind of thing would bother Shiloh. I'm sorry. Me too. I was just wondering. Let's build another sandcastle. The day's gonna be over soon. You're right. The sun is going down so fast. We all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Shiloh's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. The air stayed uncomfortable for the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shiloh's mom appeared at the beach to take him home. At least you'd tried something to resolve it, though, and it seemed like it helped. Even though Shiloh's smile when he said goodbye to Cove wavered, it was stayed as bright as ever for you. That had to count for something. But when Shiloh oh my god, I cannot read. But with Shiloh gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head back to your own houses. So you led the way on the path back home. The walk home was quiet. You passed by familiar landmarks, shoes thumping against the sidewalks in near perfect unison. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. Let's ask him what he's thinking. You didn't want to leave it hanging in the air, so you decided to just ask. Why are you making that face? Oh, I was just wondering. Cove fell silent again for a few more seconds, then sighed. Why'd Shiloh act like that when I said he was all read a lot? He gets embarrassed. Embarrassed, but I didn't say anything that bad. It might have upset him anyway. I guess I can get it, why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad too. Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still sour. What Shiloh said didn't make any sense anyways. Parents talk to each other's parents and set up stuff for their kids to play together. My dad didn't do anything weird. You struggled not to make a face at that. His dad definitely did something weird to try to get you to spend time with Cove. But Cove didn't know that. Let's lie. Nobody's making me spend time with you, even though I'm literally being paid for it. Cove's shoulders relaxed. You hadn't even noticed that he had tensed up. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Anyways, I knew the whole time Shiloh shouldn't have been saying things like that. You nodded, but you didn't speak, your eyes firmly on the ground. By now, the two of you were on the sidewalk near your houses. It was time to part ways. Bye, Cove. Your parents hadn't planned anything else for you, though you knew that you'd seen him eventually. Cove nodded, already turning away. Bye, Shad. You made your way to the house at a leisurely pace, going up the driveway to get to the front door. But before you went inside, you looked back. Cove was halfway to his house, his hands shoved into his pockets. You still felt a little unsure with what you were supposed to do about the deal Cove's dad had offered. You didn't want to say something bad, or something you shouldn't. You might change your mind sometime. There was always tomorrow, after all, but for now, it was definitely something that you'd like to keep to yourself. With a final look, you went inside your house. Dude, I really want to see the ghost one. The ghost runaway and sleepover ones I'm interested in. All the rest I'm not like super interested in. And I'm gonna check my Discord message. Like, oh look, it's yeah. Okay. Oh god, computer, you good? Cool. I think we'll do shopping, and then the summer's going to end. Come back before it gets dark, alright, sport? The familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the snail you'd been watching inch slowly across the pavement. Cove waited in front of his dad, pushing his green hair back off of his face from where the breeze was blowing it over his glasses. He looked to be paying only a mild amount of attention as he was being handed a few slips of green paper. It reminded you of when you'd first met Mr. Holden, although he's probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Cove's dad seemed to feel your gaze somehow, or maybe you had made a noise, because a second later his eyes were on you. He waved you over with a smile. He looked happy to see you, but you still felt a little weird for getting caught. You gotta learn how to be more sneaky. You brushed your hands together to free them from sand, then jogged over to join the two. Where? I see pavement. I fail to see sand in this image. But, okay. Good to see you again. What excitement are you up to today? Stuff. I found a really cool snail across the road. He was slimy with funny eyes and had a nice shell. Mr. Holden grinned at your enthusiasm. After you finished answering the question, Mr. Holden's attention returned to the Cove, who was preoccupied with folding the bills he had into a tiny rectangle. Sounds fun, you know. Cove was about to hit the stores by the beach. Why don't you go with him? You shrugged. Cove was in the process of making a similar motion. You didn't have anything else to do, and you hadn't been looking for stores in a few days. And you hadn't been to the stores in a few days. Maybe there's something new to look at. Maybe. Is that okay? Yes. I was gonna go by myself, but I guess it is. You don't have to. Great. I'm sure you guys will have loads of fun. Look, I got $20. I got $20. dollars to spend on whatever I want. Mr. Holden reached into his pocket and pulled out a leather wallet filled with money. He found it odd since your mom's only ever seemed to have cards in theirs. Here. He leaned in to pass a crisp tin to Cove, giving him a wink and a whisper. Get something for your friend, too. Sure.
Good kid.
That's my boy. Cove's dad ruffled his son's hair as he straightened back up, the bill in his hands still held out towards the green-haired boy. Take care. Cove accepted the bill after a second and slipped it into his pocket. Then, with one last nod to his dad, he turned away and started walking. He followed after him, intrigued at the possibilities this outing might bring. Cove strayed towards the path, towards the gentle tide creeping up the sand, and you fell into place beside him. It was a nice day. The sun was shining and there weren't many clouds in the sky, though the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being too hot. You took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent of salt and ocean air. When you looked at Cove, he was dragging his feet through the sand a little, fucking Christ. He was dragging his feet through the sand a little, and you slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intensely. Are you looking for shells? Cove startled a little at the sound of your voice and mumbled a sort of. If you see any, you can let me know. You could manage that. You dropped your view to the sand, walking carefully so you didn't step on any. You were good at finding shells. You had a lot of them at home and always found new ones whenever you visited the beach. The comforting sound of the waves filled the silence with pleasant white noise, and you played a little game with yourself as you walked along, getting closer to the water as possible, getting as close to the water as possible without getting wet. I can read super great. This resulted... Oh my god. See, I can read amazing, can't I? It resulted in you having to run up the sand quickly when a wave rushed in more than a few times, and although Cove threw a few glances your way, he didn't say a word. What did you want to go to the shops for? I need a new sand pail. Yeah? What happened to your old one? Cove narrowed his eyes, seeming to think deeply for a second.
Whoa.
It disappeared. What? Really? Cove ducked his head down, lacing his fingers behind his back. It didn't seem like he was going to continue, so you nudged his arm. How did that happen? Well, Cove opened his mouth and shut it again, considering. I took it to the beach one day. When I got home, it wasn't anywhere. You left it there? Nope, it wasn't at the beach when I got back. Then you lost it. It disappeared. What about you? What do you do out here? Nothing. I don't like the beach. What? Cove looked taken aback by your declaration, wrinkling his nose as he stared at you in confusion. The beach must matter a lot to him, but that makes sense. His name is Cove, after all. Once you reached the shopping area, the noise level grew exponentially. No longer just waves and footsteps, but the chatter of people enjoying the lovely summer day and the call of birds trying to find bits of food left behind, and a lot of salespeople trying to get attention. You sniffed the air as you walked beside Cove. You could still smell the ocean, but there were other scents now too. Pizza, pretzels, hot, donuts. Ooh, donuts. It was nice. The energy surrounding the area seemed to fill you, and there was a bounce in your step as you began looking at all the familiar sights. There were so many things to do, you didn't know where to begin. You looked up at Cove, hoping he was just as excited as you were. Cove was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look in his aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out. What's that? Cove pointed to a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables with large, colorful umbrellas blooming from their middles. You could see past the adults who were... Oh my god. You couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way, but you knew there must be something worth seeing. Without another word, you two hurried over to see what all the commotion was about. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexander! In the center of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat who had 3 long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over it that read The Amazing Alexander in glittery golden script. Why tell people his name if it was already on a sign? Cove hummed with understanding. Cove hummed with understanding, then turned to walk away just as the amazing Alexander began shuffling a deck of cards. I want to see the show. Cove glanced back at the man, then briefly lifted his arms up off his sides before returning them to place. Okay. He might not be impressed, but at least he didn't ditch you. You grinned, waiting for him to follow as you raced back to the stand in the crowd. With that, it began. The magic man pulled one card out of the deck, showing it to the curious onlookers. It was a 4 of diamonds. Watch closely. You did, squeezing through a few of the adult unlockers to get a better view. Suddenly, the man snapped his fingers, and the card just disappeared. Whoa. The amazing Alexander, who had earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. What's this behind your ear? Nah, don't touch me, man. It wasn't enough to deter him, and the crowd of people gathered behind you made it impossible to move any further. He smelled like popcorn and candy when he stepped closer, and you swallowed anxiously. You felt a tug, and then you pulled the 4 of diamonds out from behind your ear. You knew that it couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't get how he'd done it. There was a light applause from the crowd, and the man gave a deep bow. This is for you. The magician plucked a pair of balloons from the clump and tied them down to his table. Both were in the shape of a dolphin instead of a normal circle. And one for your amazing friend, too. Thank you for being my assistant. Wow. Now you are really grateful that he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. Pick a card, any card. My uncle does that every time he visits. Not the balloon, the stuff with the cards. Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designated for him. Is Cove's whole family magic? If so, he was lucky. The crowd started to clear some, and you noticed to the side that there was a whole rack of brightly colored kaleidoscopes on display. Oh my god, it's giving the kaleidoscope from the airport. What? A kaleidoscope? I'm not 5. Shapes and colors the likes of which I've never seen before. Kaleidoscope, definitely. Oh, Cove, check this out. You shifted your balloon string on your other hand so you could bring the mysterious tunnel to your eye. A whole palette of colors appeared right in front of you, spinning into all kinds of different shapes as you twisted the end of the tube. Cove picked up one and looked through, twisting the tube at the end. After a second, he set it back on the rack, moving to the other side of the stall. He went under the awning, careful of his own floating dolphin, and you joined him. Are you having fun? Cove didn't answer straight away, and after a few more moments, you thought he wasn't going to say anything at all. A little. When Cove moved towards some of the stalls nearby, you followed besides him. Stuffed animals! While Cove looked at sand pails, you were drawn to a table with colorful keychains laid out on it. They were sewn in the shape of sea creatures, and there was a plaque that read "Handmade" standing proudly in front. There were lots of different types. You saw a dolphin, a shark, a crab, a turtle. I want the sharky. Your hand stopped on the shark, a devious smirk filled with sharp teeth on its face. You weren't supposed to go near sharks in real life, but there was something about this shark that you liked, and the fabric on its back was soft when you picked it up. You were instantly enamored. Checking the price, though, your heart fell. $6. You didn't know much about money, but you thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. You rarely had more than a $5 bill to your name. Though that changed the day you met Cove and his dad. You still had to have the $20 bill Mr. Holden had hidden away in your room. It was a grand sum of money, but you couldn't spend something that was at home instead of in your pocket. Maybe you'd have to ask your moms to bring you here on one day, now that you knew what you wanted. Is that what you want? Huh? Oh, it's $6. I didn't bring any money.
All right.
It's fine. Are you sure? Cove took the keychain from your hands, and that was that. He was holding a small yellow bucket for himself, too. My dad told me to. You beamed, excited at the idea of displaying the keychain somewhere in your room. It was nice of Cove's dad to let Cove buy something for you, too. You had to remember to thank him the next time you saw him. After Cove paid, the two of you stepped out of the store, side by side, your balloon dolphins knocking together and spiraling around in the air. You watched Cove hold up his new pail to his face, examining it thoroughly. Hey, Cove? Yeah? Why is your dad always giving money to people? From what you've seen, this happens a lot with Mr. Holden. You've never met anybody else who shared dollar bills with people all the time.
Huh?
I don't know. Cove didn't really look like he understood the question. For a second, you thought about mentioning the way you and his father had met, but decided against it. This was meant to be a secret, and you felt like your feelings might have been hurt. And you felt like your feelings might have been hurt if your parents were offering to pay people to be your friend. Cove looked further down the street, where different food carts were lined up. He rested his non-cast arm over his stomach. Just as he did, yours let out a slight growl. You hadn't eaten since breakfast, and after all of this wandering around, you were definitely ready for some lunch. Let's go get some food. Yeah. You two wandered around a short while, looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious. And as the different smells, both sweet and salty, wafted over you, your stomach growled even louder. After passing up hot dogs, ice cream, and pizza, you both agreed on pretzels. Cove got something sweet and cinnamony, and you... Oh my god! Cheese! And can I get cheese and chocolate? No, cheese and chocolate would be gross. Cheese pretzels. You gotta go with cheese pretzels, man. You licked your lips hungrily. Oh my god. I kind of want Annie Ann's now. Fuck. What is it? I think it's called like Annie Ann's or something. Oh my god, their pretzels are so good. You licked your lips hungrily as the vendor handed your pretzel over. Ready, you took a big bite. It was covered in gooey, melted cheese, just the way you liked it. It seemed odd to get a dessert pretzel before eating normal food. Oh, a dessert, not a desert. He found an empty table close enough to the beach that the grit of the sand made terrible noises when you dragged the chairs out to sit down. These balloons are going to make it hard to eat. Cove placed his bucket on the table as he stared at his still balled up hand that was wrapped around the string. You opened your mouth to agree before an idea hit you. I know. After carefully placing your pretzel down somewhere it wouldn't get sandy, you tugged the balloon dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied it to a delicate bow around his wrist. Oh. Cove bounced his arm up and down in place, testing the stability of your knot. After watching his balloon jostle around but remain attached, he smiled, satisfied. There, now do mine. He repeated the ritual. Cove struggled somewhat with the cast, restricting his fingers on one hand and a string already tangled around the other. Got it. The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork, both hands now free to allow easy munching on your pretzels. You bit into the doughy treat, savoring your taste on— oh my god, I'm hungry and this is just making it worse. Savoring the taste on your tongue with a smile as you looked out over the ocean. After a time you finished your pretzel. You were done before Cove. It was boring not having anything to do. You pulled on the string of your balloon to bring it down to your level. Then you held the dolphin in your hands, manipulating it to make it look like it was jumping through the air. It turned to face the beach. It almost looked like it was swimming through the waves like a real dolphin. A laugh came from your side. You glanced at Cove, something I did not see what the fuck it said. Mine is Sam. They're just a regular dolphin. You sighed, thinking about how great it would be to have a pet dolphin of your own. What's yours? Cove considered the question, placing the balloon against the table and resting his free arm across it in contemplation. It's... With a loud pop, the dolphin exploded into ribbons. Oh no. For a second, all Cove did was gape in shock, like you. Then his cheeks puffed up, squinting his eyes. You saw tears start to glisten. Cove can have our balloon. You could have my balloon instead if you want it. Cove looked over at you, frowning. I don't want yours. Oh. You felt bad for Cove, but were secretly glad. You really liked the little dolphin and weren't too eager to give it up. Cove spent the rest of the outing sniffling and didn't say much else. The passing of Cove's balloon was the last major event of your adventure. In the end, the two of you headed back late that afternoon. You separated on the beach, and while Cove went straight home with his brand new sand pail in hand, you decided to sit for a while. You watched the waves and the sunset, fiddling with your new keychain. Another summer day was drawing to a close. It had been nice for the most part. Hopefully there wouldn't be any tears next time. Okay, and then summer ended. Yes, I am sure. I want to save real quick. How do I go back? I'm using a controller for this, so this is really odd. I'll never get tired of that view. You stood beside your moms and Lizzie as the four of you watched the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far away. You like to imagine it cooling off in the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow. That was a fun day. I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping street now. Neither did I. Oh no, we're so dull, we need to get out more. You didn't do real magic, Mom. How did you figure that one out? Because I know, that's not what real magic looks like. Oh, Lizzie dear, there's all kinds of magic in the world. Lizzie gave Mommy a suspicious look, but didn't dispute the claim. Well, can we sit out here all night? Well, we can't sit out here all night. Time to hurry home and get cooking. Who's helping with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out a groan. Mom, summer's almost over. The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon, and you certainly didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. It is almost over. You tried to be subtle about your little grumble, but you saw Mom look down at you from the corner of her eye and knew that she heard. Yeah, it would be evil. Hang on, what is... Yeah, it would be evil not to let us play until dinner. You weren't sure evil was a fair word choice, but nodded anyways. At times like this, you had to back each other up. Sure, we'll have homework and reading to do. We can't do that work now, too. Lizzie made her case and then stomped her foot into the ground. You mimicked her, feeling that that would add something to the argument. Well... Oh, come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner. Mommy leaned in for a hug, and you knew that they were very close, and you knew that you were very close to victory. All right. But as soon as dinner's ready, you lot are coming inside, understood? Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. Ah, so much to do, so little time. Maybe I can still get the seashell bracelet at Tines and Trinkets. Ooh, or maybe the playground, where the fireflies would probably be coming out, right? Do I get a say on this? Lizzie looked over at you, narrowing her eyes like she was very seriously contemplating the answer to that question. A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself. Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet? That's all Lizzie said before abruptly turning on her heel and heading off in the directions that your mother had gone. Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I have lots to plan if I want to make the most of tomorrow. You thought this over, looking towards the water again. Lizzie didn't wait, and before long she disappeared down the road. We'll stay outside. You watched Lizzie run off, twisting your lips as you considered what to do. In the end, the pretty sky and the soothing sound of the waves won out. You strayed off the path, grinning at the feel of the sand, quickly filling in the space on your flip-flops. That was fun for a while, but you grew bored eventually. How else could you remember the remainder of your time at the beach? Look for seashells. You walked to the shoreline, peering at any debris that washed up. Most of it was just seaweed, rocks, and trash. Just now, and then you'd spot... Though now and then you'd spot a seashell. You picked up the ones that stood out to you until you had a nice little collection. It was a great evening, but soon enough you had your fill and were ready to join the rest of your family back home. Not too much further down, you spotted a familiar green head of hair moseying along the shore. Let's go see what he's doing. Curious, you strayed off your path and walked over to him. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. He reared his arm back, then started tossing it into the water. Rock sunk kind of like a rock and fell kind of... yeah. We're impressed. What are you doing? Cove jumped a little and you let out a small giggle. Sorry. What are you doing here? I asked first. Cove frowned, turning back to the waves. I'm not doing anything, just thinking. Cove was looking down at his cast, scratching idly at the pink surface, even though you were pretty sure he couldn't feel it. His brows were furrowed and there was a frown on his face. It's not fair. I had to wear this cast for ages. I can't even swim. When did you get it off? Cove shrugged and then didn't say anything. For a second you thought maybe he didn't know, but finally he sighed. A few weeks. That is a while away. You couldn't imagine being forced to wear a cast for that long. It'd be torture. Cove let out a huff, flopping down in the sand. I can't believe summer's almost over. You sat down next to him and nodded in agreement, regardless of the sudden topic change. I don't want to go to school. I mean, I don't want to go to a new school. I think it'll be the same school as you and Lizzie. My dad said something about that. So why don't you want to go? It's nice as far as schools go. You'd only ever been to one school, but you were sure that his old school could not have been that much better. Then again, he did have to make new friends and meet new teachers. It could be kind of scary. Cove shook his head, then wrapped his good arm around his knees and drew them to his chest. You heard a sniffling sound, and when you took a good look at his face, you realized that his eyes were wet.
I want to go home.
You weren't sure what to do. It felt weird to just leave him there crying, but what else could you say that would help? You frowned a little, starting to stand. Okay, well, bye then. What the fuck? Kid starts crying and you're just like, bye. Cove gave his head a small shake. No, I want to go back home. Right, Cove wanted to go back to his old home. The one that sat waiting someplace far from here. The one that he would bring up whenever he felt sad. It had been a while since he had moved in, but he didn't seem to feel any better about being here. You settled back down into the sand, trying to consider what to do. This can be your home. It's a really nice home if you give it a chance. Cove didn't respond to that. He just tightened his arm around his knees, resting his chin on them. You're not going to leave, right? You'll still be around? The question was a little surprising. Of course. Your parents would have mentioned if you were going to move or something, right? After a second, Cove gave a little nod. Once I get my cast off, we could go swimming. You were fine with him changing the subject again. It'll be too cold by then. You smiled so he'd know you were only kidding. Cove smiled, then looked back to the waves. My dad keeps saying I'll get used to everything eventually. That I'd feel better then. It used to make me angry. I don't want to get used to everything. He a glance over at Cove and then saw that anger had slipped off of his face in favor of something almost puzzled. But maybe that would be okay after all, as long as I really do feel better. I can't see. The two of you sat quietly, just taking in the sound of the waves. Lost in thought, you stared a bit when you heard a faint, familiar sound. The sound of your mom shouting your name. You looked over your shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. Had you guys really been sitting out here that long? You stood and dusted the sand off of yourself. My mom's calling. It's time for dinner. You should come. Cove looked at you, expression screaming reluctance, yet ultimately, okay. When you smiled, Cove returned with one of his own. But the two of you couldn't stay there in your own little world any longer. You were being called forward. The both of you ran off towards your house, leaving the waves and summer behind. Okay, that was cute. In between? Ooh, okay. Right? This is like adjusting yourself. So you can like adjust your character. Oh, doing that. I kind of want to do the voiced name.
Jamie.
I'm just... I'm curious, you know? Like, just for fun, I want to know. Okay, I have never had braces, but yes, we're doing braces. Done. Okay, we're fond of... Yes. Customize Cove! Oh my goodness. What hair options are there? There's 1, 2. There's only 1 and 2. Man. This one's very obviously superior. I think, okay, the glasses are kind of cute. Okay. I think we'll go with that shirt. Yeah, he can have that. Ooh, I like this one. One A, 1B, nah. Definitely this one. Yep, yep. Oh, this is the PJs? Okay. Definitely that one. That jacket is not good. You definitely this jacket. Wait, weren't there like stuff I could, other stuff I could, hang on. Wasn't there like other, hang on, we're just gonna skip all of this.
No.
Okay, skip it. There's supposed to be like other stuff that I can like adjust. Skip. I've already read all of this.
I want to go home.
Right, yeah. Okay, we're fond and relaxed. Okay. Why can you not like... No, I want to fucking customize him. Hang on.
Ugh.
This is gonna be really quick. Oh my god.
Rude.
I'm so confused about why I can only do like one customization. But I might just be done.
It's not fair.
I very well might be dumb.
I want to go home.
Okay, we're gonna save that. Okay. Ready. No! Ooh, I'm so glad that I saved. Oh my god. I'm a dumb bitch. Holy shit, can I go back? Third time's the charm. It's fine. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. I'm so dumb.
It's not fair.
God damn.
I want to go home.
Okay, right. Overwrite save. Yes. Okay, done. We are fond and relaxed. Yes. Oh! Ooh, there it is. Okay, I want to do both. Okay, it's at hair too, but I like the other shirt better. I don't like that bracelet. I like these though. And then I like the necklace. And then clearly these pajamas are just superior. And that jacket is not good. Okay, done with that. I think his personality, I'm just gonna leave his personality as the base, okay? Okay. August ended, September began. It was time to go back to school. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes. Still, there were interesting things to do that couldn't be done anywhere else. We weren't sure how Cove felt about it. He was enrolled that year. That was like a sign Cove would be staying in Sunset Bird for a while. At school, he was all right, but he kept his distance from the other kids, from what you saw anyway. Originally, he treated you like everybody else, passing by as if you didn't know each other. But as the years went on, the two of you acknowledged each other more and more. A friendship had started to grow. That year, the divorce of Cove's parents was finalized. You overheard your parents talking about it, saying that Cove's dad got full custody. At first, you worried that meant bad news. It had made Mr. Holden cry, apparently. Then you found out it meant that Cove would keep living with his dad. He would only stay with his mom a few weeks of the year. Cove cried too, for different reasons, you thought. It seemed like Cove and his dad might move again, but Mr. Holden decided to stay after all. Mom asked him about it once. He said that he didn't want to uproot Cove's life a second time. Mr. Holden tried to get Cove to like Sunset Bird more. He kept encouraging his son to go out and see the place. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered you to spend time with Cove. You weren't sure how well it worked in changing Cove's thoughts on the town, yet it might have been part of the reason you and Cove ended up growing closer. Cove never talked to anybody about what happened with his parents and withdrew whenever it was brought up. It was hard for him, yet nobody knew how to help. Eventually, Cove stopped crying on his own. You couldn't understand what had changed. Still, why did my stream stuff, like the font suddenly changed? Huh. Still, you worried about him. You could tell he wasn't completely happy. Maybe one day he could say out loud what he felt inside. After that, it felt like things had gone back to normal, except what was normal didn't stay the same. Years passed, and suddenly you were in middle school. You weren't a kid anymore. You were 13 years old. That officially made you a teen, even if your sister didn't agree. The toys and crowns that used to litter everywhere, every free space in your room had been packed away somewhere, replaced by new hobbies. There were other changes too. Cove's cast got taken off. It was weird to see him without it initially. Underneath the pink plaster ended up being a long, thin scar that snaked along his forearm. Cove's chest puffed out in pride whenever somebody drew attention to it. He also went through a major growth spurt. He was the tallest student in his class for 2 years in a row. Cove will probably hold that spot again next time. In class, people knew him for much more than just being tall. He also stood out because of how well he did with school stuff overall. Over the years, he began opening up more too. You saw him talking amicably with other kids or neighbors from time to time. The only kid that came to visit the neighborhood when you were little, Shiloh, well, he was gone. He and his mom moved back to the south because of her work, just 1 year after Cove came to Sunset Bird. It had been really upsetting when he left. Lizzie was inconsolable for weeks, but nobody talked about Shiloh anymore. It was a long time ago. You learned some heartbreaking things. You learned some heartbreaking things became less sad the further away they were, even if they had never gotten any better. That was sad in its own way. Things at home were different too. You still lived in the same house and all that, but it wasn't how it was before. Ma had dyed her hair purple, wanting something new, and liked it so much she kept dyeing it. You remember calling her mommy as a kid, but something like that seemed awkward nowadays. You were much too old for the word. Lizzie felt too mature for her nickname too, so she insisted on everybody calling her Elizabeth, so you did. Your mom soon gave her permission to go places other than the playground and shopping street, which she took advantage of. You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. In fact, she hardly spent any time with you the way she did before. Elizabeth instead associated more and more with girls from school who were her own age. Maybe the difference between 13 and 15 years was greater than the difference between 8 and 10. You started befriending new people yourself, like Derek Suarez? I don't know. You didn't live in the same neighborhood or go to the same school. What happened was his and Cove's dad struck up a business partnership a few months ago. Since then, Derek would pop up in the area now and then. It seemed like Mr. Suarez was happy to let Derek tag along to his work if Derek had the time for it. Without a doubt, everyone and everything around you had changed. In small and big ways, you had too. As time went by, though, it was easy to settle into this new normal. Then, before you knew it, school was over and summer vacation had come again. It was the first day of summer vacation. The sun was hot as ever, but you were inside and away from the harsh rays. To be more specific, you were... definitely sleeping in. It was hot, but you still had a blanket over your head to block out the sun. You didn't want it intruding on your lazy morning. Unfortunately, you hadn't prepared for an intrusion. From beneath the blanket, you heard the door creak open. You're still sleeping? Wow. Get up. Go away. By the impatient tapping of her foot, you could tell that she hadn't left. Get up now or I will come over there. So much for a lazy morning. Mom told me to tell you that your friend is at the door. He brought some happy summer gift from Mr. Holden. Mom wants you to take it from her, say thanks or whatever. Come down already. I'll be there when I'm there. Elizabeth rolled her eyes and left, having done what was instructed of her. You rolled out of bed, stretching your arms high and yawning. Time to get ready. You sat yourself in front of the mirror in the far corner of your room. Reflection hardly even. You're very tall. You're pretty tall. You had trouble getting your reflection to appear in the mounted. Oh my goodness, that's so short. We're pretty short. You could relate to Derek and how it felt to be smaller than people thought you ought to be. Your shortness seemed even more drastic when compared to Cove, who was unusually tall. We like our height. It suited you well, in your mind. Then you put the finishing touches on your outfit while ruminating on the situation. Careless as they had been, Elizabeth's words had piqued your curiosity. You planned on going over to see what Cove was up to, so this worked in your favor. Your reflection grinned back at you. You were looking forward to seeing him. You left your room, taking an easy time down the stairs. Okay. Step 2, second chance for what, girl? Water is yummy. You spotted Mom first, reclining on the couch. She held a magazine in her hands, which she was perusing through. Morning, Mom. She looked up at your greeting, a smile instantly appearing on her face.
Thanks.
Good morning, Chad. Thank you for coming down. Ma's at the door with Cove. He can't stay over today, unfortunately. Why don't you go and thank him before he leaves? You nodded and made your way to the front of the house. Just as she said, Ma was there making conversation. She must have heard you because she looked over her shoulder. Oh my goodness, the purple looks so good. Look who finally made it. Morning, sleepyhead. Mom reached forward to let you know that she was about to pat you on the head. She was taller than average for an adult woman, so at your height, you were absolutely tiny in her eyes. Let's dodge. Ma didn't bother trying to catch you. She simply smiled. You're the last one down today. You know that? I was gonna stay in longer, so you're welcome. Yes, thank you for gracing us all with your presence this fine day. With a small laugh, Ma stepped aside. Cove was just as you remembered, exactly how you came to know him be. He leaned uncomfortably to the side in your doorway as his bushy hair covered part of his face. His features were pinched in embarrassment as he shifted from one foot to another. He was holding what must... Oh, is that an edible arrangement? Oh. No, yes, it is an edible arrangement. Then he gave it a real look. No, instead it was a carefully cut fruit. Dude, I would love an edible arrangement. They're so yummy. It made a lot of sense that it was actually from Cove's dad. You had to suppress a laugh at this showing. You couldn't imagine many folks buying that sort of thing for their own personal enjoyment. That kind of arrangement was built for the presentation, likely to impress whoever was inevitably going to receive it. It seemed no matter how long he lived there, Mr. Holden would keep going out of his way to be neighborly, and Cove would always be roped in participating. Cove smiled slightly at the sight of you. The sting of his goofy errand was clearly embarrassed to be on. He was clearly embarrassed to be uneased. Hey, Shad. You earnestly grinned back. It wasn't weird at all, like when it used to be when you were kids. As time passed, the two of you started to enjoy each other's company. Now you actually considered him a good friend and not someone you were forced to be around by your families. Hey, it's really nice to see you. You too. And you were certain he meant that agreement. It was already shaping up to be another long summer with plenty of time for the two of you to have fun together. His awkwardness over the task started to creep back in, so Cove nudged the gifts closer to you. He was ready. Oh my god, reading is hell. He was ready to be relieved of it, and with that, the gift was accepted. I hope you and your family like this. It's a pretty good gift. I think so anyway. He smiled earnestly. Dad spent a lot of time picking out the best size and design. There were so many options to choose from. Bro, this dad is definitely trying to get these two together. Let's be real. Let's be real. Thank you. Did you tell your dad we loved the gift? Yeah. Mr. Holden's behavior was really different from any neighbor you'd ever had, though after 5 years you were used to his antics, and you'd since made up your mind on what your opinion was. Hello? Why could... No. Wow, my best friend's dad is he's great and kind of handsome to boot. Like he's sort of funny. Sometimes that could be a good thing, and other times it was a bad thing. Your thoughts were quickly interrupted by a shout. There you are! You shared a confused look with Cove. As one, you both stepped through the open door to the neighboring street. It didn't take long for you to locate the source of the noise. You spotted Derek just a few yards down the road. He ran up to you. You were confused. I don't know who this Derek guy is yet. You hadn't expected to see Derek today, though you never really knew when he'd appear. After stopping a couple of steps away, Derek hunched over to catch his breath. Then he looked up with a wide grin. Guy and gal. Oh my goodness, he's so tall. He's so tiny. He's tiny. I was just at your house, Cove, but no one was there. Should have figured that you'd be at Shad's place. Do you ever spend time in your own home, or are you just always there? Derek laughed at his own joke. He either didn't notice that it embarrassed Cove, or that the embarrassment was what he was actually laughing at. Derek turned to you. He was going to say more when his eyes widened and he gasped, "What's that?" You followed his gaze, unsure, then you realized what he meant. You were still holding Mr. Holden's gift. It's kind of like a bouquet of flowers, but made out of fruit.
Nice.
Can I have some? It's a gift from my family. I can't give it to you. Derek pouted at your words, not hiding his disappointment. Aw, okay. Then he nodded his head as if to clear it. Anyway, that's right. I came here because I needed to say something big. He paused, possibly for effect. There's some other kid here in Sunset Bird. Cove was as surprised as you by the news. Such a reaction made sense. No one around your age had moved here since Cove did 5 years ago. Were they with their family? Maybe they're cutting through. Nuh-uh. The new kid was all by himself, just walking. Did you talk to him? Nope. I came to report the sighting right away. The kid had green hair, glasses, and was pretty small. He seemed upset about something. I hope he didn't leave. You blinked. Slowly, you looked over to your longtime neighbor. That sounds a lot like you, Cove. When you first got here, anyway. It kind of does, doesn't it? That's weird. He sounded almost fond, a small smile playing on his lips. Derek snickered good-naturedly. I can see that really well now that you say so. But what do you say? Oh, fuck. Oh, my God. Let's go find Cove's lookalike. We should... Oh, my God. Let's go find Cove's lookalike. We should all meet him. I'll do it. Sure, I want to see who this person is. Derek grinned, then he pointed down the street the way he came. Last I saw him, the mystery visitor was going this direction. Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you were off, with Derek leading the way. I thought that Cove couldn't hang out, but I guess. Derek brought you to the beach, and as a trio, you made your way down the shore to the old playground. You walked the familiar path in a comfortable silence. When you were almost there, you spotted the kid in question. His bright colors almost shone like a beacon beneath the rays of sun. He scuffed around, kicking up sand as he paced. It was true. He certainly seemed upset, but he didn't think he was sad like you had originally pictured. No, with his erratic movements and scrunched up expression, he came off angry. He started to have doubts about this expedition. Maybe it'd be better if you'd left him alone and let him sort himself out. Derek didn't feel the same. He waved wildly, calling out to the boy. Hey, guy, over here. Hello, Green Howard Wallowitz. The kid whipped around, an impressive scowl carving deeper onto his face. His eyes were tired, but a strong hostile energy still radiated from him. What is it? What do you want? Sharp tone made Derek flinch. He shifted on his feet. What's your name? Jeremy. Was that it?
No.
I'm Derek. This is that Shad and Co. We were just walking around and saw you. We wanted to say hi. There aren't a lot of kids our age in the neighborhood. Yeah, so, you know, it's cool to see someone else here. Strangely, Jeremy grew furious by your response. If steam could erupt from a person's ears, it would have happened then. They did bring me somewhere stupid. Of course, I knew it. What?
My parents.
My parents. They're the ones who brought me. I didn't walk to this town. Can you not figure that out on your own? Right. My dad brings me to Sunset Bird too when he has to come for work and all that stuff. It's not that bad. That earned a glare from Jeremy. Derek winced beneath it, glancing away. It was a struggle to remain friendly with this Jeremy guy. I mean, I wouldn't want to come here for a real vacation probably either. That's a total understatement. This doesn't count as a vacation. It's a waste of time, a chore. My parents' family is nearby and we just had to come see them. Ugh. If they're your parents' family, doesn't that make them your family too?
Yes.
That's a pretty good reason to come by. Did you want to go somewhere else? No. Jeremy crossed his arms with a huff. He turned away. They should have gone by themselves since they cared so much and left me home, but I'm not allowed to be by myself. Probably because you'd set the house on fire. Just a vibe though. I could be wrong. It makes no sense. They're the ones who don't know how to do anything and I'm the kid? Okay. We just said hello. You don't have to keep complaining at us. Wow. Why did you decide to talk to me, huh? Did I ask for that? No. Did I want you to come over and start flapping your gums at me about dumb stuff? No. Now you're gonna whine that this isn't what you wanted? Too bad. It's not my job to care. Fuck you, Jer. Actually, you know what? Fuck him. The two of you aren't that similar after all. Jeremy must have had good hearing though, because he caught the private exchange and scoffed.
Stupid.
Ugh, of course we're not that similar. My eyebrows aren't stupid. To be fair, Cove does have kind of silly eyebrows. Just a little bit, but I think they're cute. You couldn't be sure if this was out of embarrassment or anger, or maybe both. Come on. No, Cove's wavy eyebrows are, wait, hang on. How can you say that when you got a bowl cut, bitch? Yep, it's embarrassing and awful, but my parents made me. I won't have to have it when I'm older. I don't know what he's gonna do with those stupid things, except maybe shave them off. He probably should. He'd bet he'd look less dumb with no eyebrows. I'm gonna fight the bitch. I'm gonna fight him. Fight. He made it clear that the words wouldn't work, leaving you to resort to this action. You weren't sure what would happen, but you couldn't let this stand. Fight him. Fight. Derek and Cove jumped in to stop. No! No! Jumped in to stop you before you reached him. They each grabbed you by the arm. Still, Jeremy instinctively stumbled backwards. He practically fell over. If that's all you can do about what I'm saying, it's just proving I'm right. You're brainless. You were annoyed the other two were against you on this and got in the way, though. Though the reaction you had been able to get was still worth it. Wow, what is wrong with you? Instead of taking offense, Jeremy only parroted Derek's word in a nasally voice. Wow, what is
wrong with you?
Wait, that was so good. This is dumb. Jeremy stuck at his tongue and sulked away, throwing more sand everywhere as he went. You watched him go, hunched over, until he became a speck in your vision. Silence reigned in his wake. The three of you tried to process what just happened. I can't believe it. What do you mean? Why can't you believe it? Mean kids are literally everywhere, buddy. Derek wasn't kidding, and by the sound of those earlier complaints, the new boy, Jeremy, was going to be in the area for at least a little while this summer. Derek sighed in dismay, plopping onto the ground. You followed, and Cove did shortly after, too. There wasn't much else to do.
Sucks.
I was hoping we could meet someone fun, hang out maybe. He shook his head. After a moment, he slowly turned to you with a hopeful expression. But you know what would really improve this day? What? He didn't respond. Instead, he used a hand to point, right at the fruit arrangement that you were still holding. You'd completely forgotten about it during the mini drama that unfolded, and you had gotten used to the wait. Glancing over to Cove, you noticed that he was eyeing the fruit. He must want some too. Why not? Derek perked up immediately at your words. He reached out for a skewer, hesitating slightly once he was inches away. You nodded. With an eager grin, he plucked out a prime row of fruits. Cove grabbed one for himself after him. Only you were without a skewer of your own. Oh my god, definitely a pineapple skewer. Pineapple was cut to look like a flower. It was the obvious first choice. Derek ate the pineapple skewer enthusiastically, finishing it within moments. This is amazing. It's not different than any other normal fruit. It's kind of worse. These have been out in the open with their skins off for a while. Sheesh. Hey, you two remember the land before time? That fruit thing makes me think about it. All the dinosaurs all liked the leaves that were shaped like stars. 3 stars. Yeah, chomping leaves looked so delicious when they did it. And there was that scene with the pretty trees and all the dinosaurs came in and picked everything off them till there was nothing. That's us right now. It's awesome. Eating leaves looks good. Should I worry about you? He snickered. No, I'm not gonna do it for real, but I did pretend I was a long neck when I ate broccoli one time. The 3 of you continued on like this for the next few moments. Eventually the display was barren. It looked weird when devoid of fruit. Hey, we weren't supposed to eat all of it.
Oops.
Really? You couldn't stop yourself from sighing at the boys. You wanted to eat some and have a nice time. Now you were probably going to get in trouble. You could only accept it though. Hey, Shad. Yeah? The 2 of you met eyes casually. Were you seriously gonna hit that guy? Well, he had it coming. Yes, bitch! Fight! 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 That's so bad. Fuck you! I thought it was cool. Thank you! Somebody's on my goddamn side. He deserved it! What? You're both crazy people. You knew when Derek said things like that, it wasn't serious. He liked crazy. I was crazy once. I was in a rubber room. Oh my god, one of my coworkers, literally all day, would just randomly start up and he'd say it over and over and over to the point to where like it was getting genuinely so frustrating. Yeah. Derek then leaned back on his arms. He contemplated the sky with a content sigh. So, are you both ready for summer break? Yes. Cool on you. Wish I could say the same. It feels like there's a lot to plan for. What about you, Cove? Are you ready? I think that depends. Before you could say anything else, the light atmosphere was shattered. You glanced over to your shoulder to see your sister. She strode closer and closer, appearing none too pleased. I've been looking all over for you. Mom said you and Cove ran off with the thing Mr. Holden brought for us. She leered over you with her arms folded. So, where is it? Well, it's gone. What do you mean, gone? You moved over to the side to face her completely. She zeroed in on the bouquet in your hands, which was now populated exclusively with skewers dripping in juice and tiny flecks of leftover fruit pieces. Her mouth dropped open and the tone of her voice rose. Seriously? What were you thinking? It was supposed to be for all of us at home. She glanced at Cove, who sat beside you, and continued mockingly. Even if you did have an in with the delivery boy, this was up to Mr. Holden. Cove gave you a bent smile of support, which didn't help disprove her accusation. We were hungry? Elizabeth narrowed her eyes, not at all okay with that kind of response. Oh no, I think I hear the mean kid coming back. We better get out of here. Elizabeth blinked, confused, looking around. What kid? I don't see anyone. Derek didn't bother explaining. He just launched to his feet and ran off. Cove hopped up too, gladly taking the opportunity to exit the situation. He followed after Derek, but he sent a look to you from over his shoulder. You turned to watch Elizabeth. She stared now, brow raised. We're running, bitch! Without a word, you two got to your feet and bolted down the beach. Unimpressed, Elizabeth rolled her eyes. She shook her head as she walked towards the house, not bothering whatsoever to follow. Meanwhile, the 3 of you made it back to the shoreline. Derek pumped his fist, grinning in triumph. We escaped and shall live to see another day. Exactly, but we should keep moving, in case Elizabeth decides to come back after all, or that mean kid really is still around. You chuckled together, walking further down the beach side by side. You definitely wanted to stay outside a little while longer. You'd gotten a bit of a scolding from your moms about not saving any of Mr. Holden's gift for Elizabeth, but you didn't get any real punishment for it. Instead, while you were out with the boys, Elizabeth returned home to share news, and the 3 of them went to go get dessert on their own. It was declared by even your parents that when everyone got back and the event was settled. That was a while ago now. Later that night, you found yourself seated near the kitchen counter. Your fingers drummed on the surface as you waited, your gaze trained on the phone. You were waiting on a call tonight, specifically from your cousin Leandra. You didn't want to miss it accidentally. Your uncle, aunt, and Lee used to live many hours away, and your families only saw each other a few times a year for big occasions. A while back, though, they'd moved and were closer than ever before. You now hung out regularly. With school being out, you were positive she's gonna want to come over a lot. The 2 of you were the same age and got along well. You used to be really fond of Elizabeth, too. But now that your sister had become allergic to interacting with her own family, it tended to be just you and Lee who spent time together. She was your only friend who was a girl. You weren't all that close with any other girls your age. But you didn't really have a lot of friends either. I always said that quality was more important than quantity when Elizabeth fucking Christ, I can read it. Bemoaned your small social circle. You weren't sure how friendship quality was judged, but nevertheless, you thought what you had with Lee was good. The shrill ringtone announced an incoming call. You jumped before grabbing the receiver and pressing it to your ear. Hello?
Hi.
It's Lee. I'm glad it's you. For a second there, I thought it might be one of Elizabeth's friends. Oh my god, she's so pretty! There was static on the end as if Lee was shifting wherever she was. So, can you believe it? School's actually over? I thought it'd never be done. Now we don't have to do any of that boring stuff and we get to hang out whenever we want. Speaking of hanging out, Lee, can you hang on a second? Let me head to my room. Oh yeah. You got up from your seat at the counter. Luckily, the phone was wireless, so you didn't have to worry about any cords tying you down. Your mom's had a rule about not moving the phone unless a call was in progress, which is why you'd been sat at it by its cradle waiting for Lee to call. You didn't like it, but it had to be that way. You weren't the only person here. If anyone could take the phone anywhere at any time, it'd be an even bigger hassle. You could easily imagine the receiver having a new forever home in Elizabeth's locked room. But now that Lee had called, it was okay for you to go upstairs to your bedroom and talk to her. You made your way up the stairs, smiling. After you had arrived, you shut the bedroom door firmly behind you. You took a seat on your bed. All right, I'm here. Cool. Hey, did you know that the girl down the street from me has her own phone now? A cell phone? She doesn't have to wait for somebody else to stop using it or anything. Wow, really? The thought of someone having a phone that was all their own seemed unbelievable to you, right? I wish I had one too, but my parents said I couldn't get my own phone until I'm more grown up. I wish they'd changed their mind. We could call each other every single day and no one would be able to stop us. How great would that be? Really great. We could even stay up late talking about whatever we want. Lee laughed thoughtfully into the receiver. At least they said I could have it someday. I can't wait. She sighed dramatically. I bet I'm not going to get one until I'm all the way in college. Squeezing the phone between your shoulder and your ear, you puffed up your pillows and made yourself more comfy. It was strange to think of a time when normal school would be over and you'd have to choose whether or not to go to a college. School was such a big part of your life right now. You never really tried much, but you still didn't do bad. Coasting by had become a routine for you. Teachers had warned you that you wouldn't be able to do that forever, but you figured it was enough for now. You were confident your grades would remain great. You could definitely turn things around from here on. Yeah. You tried to sound engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to school despite the season. Lee knew you too well to be fooled. You sound so spacey. What's up? Just thinking about school. Lee groaned. Are you thinking about how we don't... I can English really well. Are you thinking about how we don't have to think about it because it's summer? That's what I'm doing. Let's make a petition for more vacation time. Yeah, everybody in class would sign it. Maybe some of the teachers too. Though I guess school isn't all the way bad. You can do some good things there. You can just do more when school's out. Oh, girl, what school are you going to that the cafeteria lunches could be good? It's the easiest way to hang out with people not in the neighborhood. If I didn't go to school, I'd never meet anybody new. No one really comes here. Uh-huh. The gym is pretty great. There were all sorts of sports stuff during gym. But yeah, it can be fun sometimes. And that's all. And that's pretty much everything that's good about school. Okay, point taken. Now, I decree the point of school is officially closed. We have to talk about the summer first before we start plotting the rest of our lives. I've got some plans already. Ooh, tell me. I'm gonna visit my cousins. You chuckled, of course. What's something you want to do? The first thing that comes to your mind. Reading. Let me know if you read anything good, unless it's scary or sad. Sure. You leaned back in your bed, settling in as you continued chatting with your friend. Even though it hadn't been that long since you saw her and you'd be seeing her soon, you still had plenty to talk about. For one, the events of the day. You sat up straighter. I was with Cove and Derek and we met a new kid. Like, at your neighborhood? Mm-hmm. His parents are visiting family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a little while. I don't know how long. What was he like? Kind of interesting. He kept snapping at us when all we were trying to do was talking with him. All we were trying to do was talk to him. I've never talked to somebody who spoke like him. I don't think I want to meet him. You want a boy to stay away before even meeting him? That's an unexpected twist. Your cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have them around until they started to annoy her. Who are you to talk? Cove and Derek are always around. They're both boys, you know. They're not always around. Lee laughed at your denial, deeply amused. Even though she couldn't see, you shook your head at her, grinning to yourself. There was a stomping noise approaching your room, heralding the arrival of your irritated older sister. She flung the door open, a frown etched on her face. How long are you going to hog the phone? Glancing at your watch, you realized that your quick call had gone on much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand, the other lodged on her hip. You noticed the realization on your face. Time's up. I'm still using it. Not anymore. You don't get everything in the world. Neither do you. I'm not the one asking for it. You had your turn. Now you want to get mine too because you were first? And your dreams. I'll get Mom's. Fine. Lee, I have to go now. Okay, see you soon. Tell Elizabeth and your moms I said hi too. You barely pressed the end call button when Elizabeth whisked the headset from your fingers and began dialing someone new as she strode out of the room. Your mom's voice called from downstairs. Hey, has anyone seen the phone? I'm using it. With that, she shut your door behind you. Silence was left in the wake. That was one way to end your first day of summer break. Sometime later, it had gotten dark outside and you laid in bed awake. Your window rattled all of a sudden, startling you badly. You flinched and looked over at it with furrowed brows. From your vantage point, you only saw the moon and an open sky. You were annoyed. Who the fuck is throwing rocks at my goddamn window? What had caused that noise? Sighing heavily, you sat up and moved closer to the window. You might as well find the reason behind the disturbance. To your utter shock, your gaze was met by a pair of familiar ocean blue eyes. Cove? You squinted. Yep, Cove was right outside your window. Your house was very angular, and some parts stuck out further than others, so theoretically it wouldn't be hard to climb around on. Still, just because somebody could doesn't mean you expected it to ever happen. To his credit, Cove was doing fine. His feet were braced against a section of wall that jutted out, his arms flexing with the effort to keep him upright. He easily lifted a hand and waved at you from the other side of the glass. You hurriedly opened the window. Cove climbed over the ledge, releasing a breath once he was safely inside. Hey. Oh my god, yeah, what's up, Romeo? I needed to talk to you and couldn't wait until tomorrow. If I rang the doorbell, I know your moms would have answered and they'd just make me go home. I didn't really want to explain why I was coming over anyway. I don't want to talk about it. Well, besides with you, but that's why I did that. As unexpected as this was, you were touched that Cove felt like he could tell you what was wrong. I might have tried calling or something, except my dad was on the phone. Cove suddenly looked very cross. Dad, he was talking to my mom. Still is, probably. You raised your eyebrows. Cove's had eavesdropped on his parents' phone conversation? I would have done that too. Cove looked relieved. A small smile played on his lips. Yeah, it's hard not to spy a little at least. It was about me. Are you gonna stay with your mom for a while again? Every year, Cove was sent off to live with his mom for a few weeks. When it happened, varied. Sometimes he would go during winter break, but usually he went during the summer. Even though it was hard news when you found out when he was leaving and you missed seeing him those weeks, you understood. To your surprise, however, he shook his head. That's what I thought too, but no, that's not what they were saying. My dad asked my mom not to have me leave this year. He said she could come stay with us here. You waited for him to continue. He didn't. The conversation abruptly dropped off. You couldn't help but stare at Cove. There was a complicated mix of expressions on his face. What did your mom say? She told him she'd come. I know she's coming soon, before school starts. Oh. You heard Cove talk about his mom a lot over the years. He'd tell you about past memories or what happened while he was visiting her. Still, it was one thing to hear about someone and another to actually meet them. Very soon you were going to see Cove's mom in person. You were taken aback by the news, so you could only imagine how Cove felt. You looked over at him. He was pacing across your room, his features pained with dread. Before they'd barely stay in the same room long enough for us to have lunch, but we're all going to be together again, the three of us, after all this time, just for a few weeks. I know I should probably be happy they can talk to each other now. I'm still not. I'm just confused and freaked out, and I feel really bad for feeling this way. Dad, his fist tightened and his eyes became misty. I shouldn't keep getting like this. It's been a long time already, and I'm not a little kid. Though he wouldn't meet your eyes, you knew he was waiting for you to say something. Oh. That's a lot. Cove's shoulders sagged further as he sighed. Yep. He seemed to feel at least a little bit more comfortable after the mutual agreement that the situation was crummy. My jaw is tired already. A momentary silence fell over the two of you. You marveled at how the day started. You had woken up eager for the summer vacation, but now things seemed so crazy. The mini debacle with Mr. Holden's gift, the newest addition to the neighborhood, being so rude, as if it all wasn't enough, now Cove's mom would be living with Cove and his dad again. Your whole life was kind of like that, it seemed. Complicated, hard, and different. Why couldn't things just get better with time? Shad? The sound of your name said quietly pulled you from your thoughts. Cove gazed at you, concerned. I'm more worried about you. You don't have to forget about yourself for me. I want to listen to you too. Cove grinned reassuringly. It was small and delicate, but you knew it was genuine. He'd come here conflicted and upset, only to end up worrying about you. He really was a great friend. You know, I think I don't want to talk anymore about this. He looked away, his lips thinning into a line, and he rubbed at his arms. But I don't want to go back home soon either. Could I stay a little longer just doing something else? He appeared equal parts hopeful and vulnerable. How could you possibly turn him away? You can stay tonight, but we should not make a habit of this. I don't want us to get in trouble over it. Cove perked up at your response, a smile appearing on his face. He immediately took a seat on your bed, not afraid to get comfortable in your room. He felt a little better at the sight somehow. You still had a lot of worries, but you were glad he was there. And not just tonight. You were glad that he came into your life in the first place. That was a change you'd never want to undo. Then who would have thought that Cove would mean so much to you? You certainly hadn't in the beginning. You'd kept your distance, and so had he. Now you considered him to be one of your closest friends. You joined Cove on your bed, taking a seat across from him. He smiled at you again, but you could tell this time it was half-hearted. He was still easy to read. Though he didn't want to talk about his mom and dad, he must be thinking about what happened and what's about to happen. Oh, let's hug him. You moved closer and wrapped your short arms around him as much as you could. It wasn't much, but you hoped the contact helped even a little. Cove froze up, startled. After a moment, his arms came up and he returned your hug. The two of you remained like that for some time. He might have mumbled something to you, but it was too quiet to tell what it was. When you pulled back, his expression had softened into something more natural. Conversation was stilted and broken, often by silence at first. Then both of you were able to get into your usual candor. As your secret hangout session stretched on, you thought that you truly wanted to keep having moments like this with him. You hoped a day would never come when life decided that the two of you would have to part ways, and you knew that Cove felt the same. You opened your tired eyes, groaning as they adjusted to the bright light that was streaming through your window and warming your pale skin. With a loud yawn, you rolled away from the sunlight and blinked a couple of times, clearing the sleep from your eyes before realizing with a start that it was actually morning. You couldn't even remember falling asleep. Cove had crept through your window during the night, and the two of you spent time together, trying not to wake your parents. You must have fallen asleep while you were hanging out, but couldn't put a finger exactly on when. You wondered how late Cove stayed before heading home. You rubbed your face and yawned again, contemplating on whether or not you should get out of bed and get ready for the day, or stay snuggled up for a little while longer, until your gaze landed on an instantly recognizable mop of green hair, and you bolted upright and gasped in surprise. He never left. He was still there in the morning. Oh no! Oh no! How dramatic! Cove, he'd fallen asleep while sitting on the ground and was precariously leaning his head on the side of your mattress. With your shout, Cove's eyes snapped open and his head slid from its source of support. He didn't stop going down until he smacked right into the floor with a crack. You clamped your hand over your mouth and looked down at him with wide eyes, curled up on where he landed rather ungracefully. Ow. You laughed loudly. Cove gave you an unappreciative look, but you couldn't help it. That was too funny. It was if either of your moms found out that Cove had slept here the night, you two would be in big trouble. Cove blinked at you a couple of times, his eyes growing in panic as some thought that he could only hear settled in his mind. Oh my god. I fell asleep. You weren't exactly sure what to do as you watched Cove pace your room, looking around frantically. Cove stopped mid-step, and you wanted to ask what he had been searching for, but you guessed he wouldn't know the answer to that himself. Despite that, he hadn't calmed down completely. The atmosphere was still frazzled. Settle down before moms hear you. Cove nodded, his shoulders tensed as he fixed you with a firm stare with his turquoise eyes. Letting out a heavy sigh, he ran his hand through his hair in an exasperation. Couldn't look at you in the eyes again as he spoke. I'll see you later. You were confused by how all this had played out, but you hoped that was true. Right. By Cove. With that, you were suddenly wrapped up in a tense embrace. As panicked as he was, this seemed to be something he couldn't forget before leaving. Thanks again. You're a good friend. He firmly whispered the words into the top of your shoulder, but you were let go before you had a chance to respond or even fully react. In a matter of seconds, he climbed over your bed and opened the window. A cool breeze rolled off the ocean, fluttering through Cove's hair and filling your room with its salty scent. Cove fearlessly stepped out onto the ledge. Wish him luck. Good luck. Be super careful. You weren't sure if he heard you or not, but he kept going along, one foot in front of the other with increasing speed until his form disappeared out of sight. You stuck your head out the window as far as it could go, trying to keep watch. He walked the full length of the ledge before jumping down to the top of the garage, then lowered himself onto the fence. From there, he finally jumped down onto the ground. He threw a thumbs up at his successful climb. He ran off towards his house without stopping, disappearing behind the side of another building. You had to admit, you were pretty impressed at how doable he made that look. With a little sigh, you reclosed your window. Deciding there was nothing more you could do, you hopped off your bed and got ready to head downstairs for the day. Check ourselves in the mirror. You certainly looked like you just woken up with your orange hair sticking all over the place. Taking a comb from beside your table, you attempted to fix and smooth down some of the messy strands. You took the stairs, slowly attempting to mask your face in a look of innocence. You were sure that someone would have come into your room if they had heard anything strange, but you couldn't be too careful. You had to play it cool. You stepped into the living room. Elizabeth was there, tapping her finger on the counter. Good morning, Elizabeth. She looked over at you immediately, her eyes squinting at the greeting. Why are you being so weird? You hadn't even done anything. Your big sister never missed a beat, unfortunately. You turned and offered a tight smile, and her lips pressed together even tighter. Dad? Wouldn't you like to know, weather boy? I would. That's exactly why I asked. You shrugged non-committedly, determined not to tell her a thing. Further suspicious squinting occurred as she waited for something, but ultimately she rolled her eyes, and you weren't sure if you were in trouble or not. You didn't seem to care care enough to dig any further. Whatever. And then she walked straight out the front door, letting it slam shut behind her, and you let out a brief sigh. Elizabeth went out most days to hang out with her friends from school around town. Today you were extra glad for it, though you were also grateful she hadn't left the house any sooner and risked running into Cove. It looked like you were getting away with that. Breakfast was eaten in peace and alone. Your moms were both out by the time you had gotten up. They had left you a serving of food from the breakfast they made. Hash browns, an omelet, fruit salad, and there were a few sausage links. No, that all sounds pretty good. It was tasty. You appreciated that there was variety in your meals that moms made. The day lazily drifted by at home, and eventually your parents returned. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air for a moment or two before grabbing a bottle of ice-cold water and taking a long drink. It was a perfect, balmy summer afternoon, and you had decided to head outdoors to find something to do. You hadn't decided what something was just yet, but you were sure something would pop up to occupy your time. How long is this, like, beginning chapter? Like, the second, like, beginning start of it before we get to, like, the mini episodes? It's, like, 9 p.m. and I need to make food. I've not eaten yet today. As you were heading out the front door, you paused for a moment. You hadn't seen Cove since he had left that morning, and you couldn't help but think about what had happened to him. Would it be bad to go over to his house right now, or to call to check in? You stepped outside of your house, still stuck in an internal debate with yourself when a voice caught your attention. Hi, Shad. Confused, you look over to where an unrecognizable woman was waving at you. A friendly smile plastered on her face. You racked your memory as to where you might have seen her before, but nothing came to mind. Not from your school or the country club your moms took you to. You had absolutely no idea who the woman was. The woman crossed the road towards you, and you were a little unsure whether you should stay put or go back in the house and lock the door. Oh my god, she's actually really pretty. Oops, I'm sorry. Was that presumptuous? I've heard about you, but you have no idea who I am, do you? You shook your head before she removed her sunglasses to review sparkly blue, ocean blue eyes. All of a sudden, she seemed a little bit more familiar. My son lives here, and my ex too. With a bent smile, she lifted a hand to point at the condo across the street from your own house. She was Cove's mom. You didn't know why you hadn't realized sooner now that you'd gotten a good look at her. Yeah, she looks really young. It was almost hard to believe that she had a 13-year-old kid. No matter your thoughts on her, you still were taken aback that she had appeared here so suddenly. Cove mentioned she was coming, but you hadn't gotten the impression that it would be the very next day. So you extended a hand again, this time for you to take, and you studied the manicured fingers in front of your face and the assortment of bracelets that dangled from her wrist. I'm Kyra Prees? You can call me Kyra. We'll shake her hand. You reached out and shook her hand, and she shook yours firmly, grinning wide. I'm Shad, but you already knew that.
I do.
Cove's mentioned you to me before. It's nice to officially meet you. Cove talked about you to his mom, and he hadn't mentioned how he said things about you to her. What's Cove said about me? Oh, I can't tell you that. I've already said too much. She laughed good-naturedly. You couldn't be happy about that answer, though. The sound of the door opening and closing caught both your attentions, and when you turned towards the sound, it was to find Cove exiting his house, his eyes skimming the ground. Considering how tall he'd grown, you had kind of figured that his mom would also have been tall, but she was much more on the short side for an adult anyway. Cove's height must have come from his father. There you are. I thought you were going to keep me standing out here all day. You tried to catch Cove's eye as he walked towards you, but his gaze was firmly fixed on the sidewalk. When he finally crossed the road and looked up, he gave you a pitiful look. After the way he acted last night, you knew he must be feeling pretty mixed up about this. You tried to wordlessly express that you understood. Oh, fuck. Okay, go back. Cove and I are heading into town to grab something to eat while the snore is at work. Kara beamed at Cove and ruffled his hair, which only seemed to upset him more. You assumed the snore she was talking about was Mr. Holden. Hey, you should come with us. I'd love to get to know you better. Yeah, you should come. There was a pleading in his tone that you couldn't miss. Of course we'll run it by your parents first, responsibility and all that. It'll give me an excuse to meet them, which I need to do at some point. It's the important thing to be neighborly if I'm going to be roosting in this street for the time being. Any hoosies? Let's go. Yeah. What? Great. Oh, wait, no, the parents are back. Towards your house. Kara walked ahead towards your house, and you hung back with Cove, who crinkled his nose as he watched her. I'm sorry about her, but I really do want you to come. I don't want it to be just the two of us. Not right now. He leaned in closer and whispered while checking around for anybody who might hear. What happened? Did your dad know you were gone? Cove shook his head and sighed heavily. Dad was so focused on Mom showing up that he didn't even notice. I thought when I heard him on the phone last night that it was something they were planning for the future. This morning, Dad said it was going to be that it was supposed to be a surprise, and I guess I was surprised. Fuck. She's going to be here all summer. Oh. You were surprised to hear that, too. Cove sighed again, even heavier. I'll go with you if you really want me to. He smiled, his shoulders relaxing a little in relief. Thanks. That'd be cool. The two of you headed over to where Cove's mom had just knocked on your front door and stood behind you. Oh, and you stood behind her, right. No, but for real, she is really pretty and really young. She's probably like super wild, and his dad is interesting, but not wild, and that might be why they got a divorce or some shit. I don't know. I'm intrigued, though. I'm interested. Mom answered the door after a minute, her eyebrows lifting in surprise at the group she found in front of her. You realized that, like you, she would have no idea that it was Cove's mom who was hanging out with you. However, after blinking at the woman a couple of times and looking between her and Cove, the realization seemed to strike on her. Hello there, I'm Pamela. I see you've met my kid, Shad. I see you've met my kid, Shad, and I'm guessing you already known Cove for a while. Kyra laughed, and then you and Cove exchanged looks at your parents' weird sense of humor. I'm Kyra. I don't know how to say her last name. Priest? Kyra Priest, Cove's mom. It's nice to finally meet you. A head of purple-brown hair caught your eyes as Mom popped up behind Mom, squeezing herself in beside her. We have company. I was wondering what all the commotion was about. She grinned excitedly at Kyra. The two of them introduced themselves and shook hands. Hi, Shad. Cove. Cove smiled at Ma shyly and then gestured towards a hand towards the living room. There's no use hanging out in the doorway. Why don't you come in? I'd love to, but I promised to take my son out to eat, and I wouldn't want to hold you up with a surprise visit. I understand. You're welcome to stop by any time. I'll take you up on that offer when I can. Count on it. Would you mind too much if Shad went with Cove and I? My treat. We won't be driving, just a quick walk down the road. Sure, that sounds nice. I hope you all have fun. You gave your moms a look, and they smiled at you fondly. God. Yeah, we're happy. You could tell that Cove really needed the support, and you were ready to be there for him. Marvelous. Expect us back in an hour or two. We look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Good God, this first start bit is long. It's really good, though. I'm, actually invested in it. Your parents waved goodbye to the three of you as you backed up onto the street, and there was the sound of the front door closing behind you. I'm pretty positive I saw some restaurants when I was in the taxi not too far from here. Yeah, it's a tourist town, isn't it? There's a lot of them around. It's kind of strange to see Cove give someone this much attitude. If he wasn't in the mood to be nice, he generally just kept to himself. Kara put her hands on her hips and smiled at her son. Well, you sound like the area expert. Do you have any recommendations for a place nearby? Not really. Kara pointed at him a little and turned to you instead. How about you? Want to point me in the right direction? Sure. You'd been to a lot of places in town, and there were a couple that stood out from all the rest. There's a Chinese restaurant that me and my family go to all the time. It's my mom's favorite. There's also a tropical themed place that tries to be sort of fancy. Both sound like a treat. I'll leave it to you to pick for us since Cove is going through a phase over there. He huffed at her and turned his face away. Cove, you gotta contribute, bitch. It's okay, Cove. Tell us which one you want more. He mumbled sulkily, willing to reject his mom, but not you. I like the tropical place more. That's what I would have gone for, too. 2 votes in favor for one restaurant. It seemed all was settled. We can go there. Thank you. Will you show us the way? You nodded, taking lead of your little group as Cove and his mom followed behind you. Together, the 3 of you left the neighborhood behind. The walk was about 15 minutes, and along the way, Kyra asked a lot of questions about the area. Cove was more quiet most of the time, so you ended up answering her questions instead. Kyra explained that she lived in a large city and loved how peaceful and relaxing everything seemed in Sunset Bird. The restaurant was busy as usual, but luckily you were shown right to a small table. Kyra lowered herself down in the chair while Cove picked the one diagonal to her, not facing her or to her side. It was awkward. Let me see, to start, what would we all like to drink? I'll get an orange soda. Dad? Milk? Plain milk? The fuck? Soda, bitch. Which flavor? Root beer is a flavor. Root beer. Sure. Kyra placed the order for your drinks, getting a black hot coffee for herself, and it didn't take long before they were brought over to the table and set in front of you. You took a long sip of your drink as you looked at the restaurant. Your small group checked over the menus, deciding what to order. The last time you came here, the dish you ordered was amazing. You wanted to order something different this time. And Kyra and Cove didn't need any encouragement for this. They were totally focused on the information in front of them. Soon the meals, too, were ordered and the menus taken away. You glanced at the table surface, waiting to figure out what to say. Cove sunk back further into his seat and avoided eye contact. He started to twiddle his thumbs while acting like all this was perfectly normal. His sour feelings today were unignorable. Instead of asking more open questions he'd brush off, Kyra had mercy on her son and instead put her focus towards you. So, what's a few things that you're into? There's gotta be something that you do for fun, especially now that you're not buried in school assignments. I like to read. Fiction novels. Me too. Nothing beats curling up with a good book. And games are fun. I like to play video games. I don't know much about them. Maybe you can show me sometime. And what else is there? I'm really into Cove, bro. I'm just really into Cove. Kara let out a sudden laugh, and Cove gasped beside you. It was a dramatic enough inhale that he almost choked on the soda. You shrugged at the reaction. It was a truthful answer to the question. Bad. Cove whispered at you disapprovingly, obscuring part of his face with a hand, but Kyra only waved him off and encouraged you to go on. We spend together when we can. We spend time together when I can. I like it. Well, we have something in common. Kyra smiled at Cove, who didn't look too impressed by either of you at that moment. Art. I like create digitally. My computer at home doesn't really have all the programs I need. And drawing. And painting. And, where's music? I saw it earlier. Ooh, I write things. I do. Kyra, oh, what did she say? A fellow writer, writing is a great form of expression, don't you think? Kyra sighed wistfully, her eyes going soft. Where's the music one? Okay, there it is. Oh, I could input what I want? Oh, that's dangerous. I listen to a lot of it. I have an MP3 player at home and my mom helped me put some music on and I've seen some concerts. Awesome. And you didn't say anything else. Thanks. I'm trying to learn a lot more about you. There's so much I hadn't heard. Cove leaves the details out. He was trying not to pay attention, but you could tell he was uncomfortable. Hoping it would clear some tension in the air, you decided to ask Kyra a few questions of your own. Cove hadn't told you much about her, and you were curious to know more about this woman who had such a big part of his life. What exactly do you do for work? I'm a travel writer for magazines and things. I keep people on the loop of what's worth seeing. It's good work. Wow. Are you in a new relationship? Girl, give me the tea. Oh, go back. Kyra brushed the question off lightly. Not at present. Okay. Wait, why did y'all get divorced? Give me the goddamn tea. Sorry, Cove. I gotta know, buddy. Oh, fuck. Oh. Yeah. Cove nudged you in the arm and you looked at him. You looked And when you looked at him, he seemed furious. Kyra brushed the question off lightly. Sorry, but... Here, wait. We'll go back, because I know that he doesn't like that. I just wanted to know. Where do you live normally? Nevada. Have you ever been there? You shook your head. It's a beautiful place. Check it out if you can. What do you like to do? Spend time with my little boy, of course, and traveling. A real shock, huh? No more questions. It didn't seem to bother her that the conversation dropped off. Cove sipped his soda angrily, slurping up the remaining drink with furrowed eyebrows. He looked ready to run straight out of the restaurant. You weren't sure if coming along had ended up making the lunch better or worse. Like a straw wrapper at him. The wrapper hit Cove on the nose, and you had to bite down on your lip to keep from laughing. It took a couple of moments, but finally he cracked a smile, and that made you feel a little lighter inside. You two seem really cute together. Cove covered his face with his hands and leaned back in his seat. Ugh, Mom, why would you say that? You just laughed. That was definitely unexpected, and there didn't seem to be any other way you could react. Your meals were delivered shortly after that, and everything was so delicious, even Cove enjoyed his food. Alright, now that we're all full and content, can you please explain why you've had a bug up your butt all day? Cove's face scrunched at that. Seriously, baby, what did Mom do to make you this mad? I haven't even been around a full day yet. He gripped the edge of the table, refusing to make eye contact. The words he spoke were barely audible over the din of the restaurant. You could have told me. She leaned forward as to not miss anything else, eyebrows raised. Told you what? He finally seemed to find his voice and spoke the thoughts that had been on his mind. That I wasn't going to visit you this year, that you were going to be coming instead? Didn't you invite me? You wanted me here with you. Cove's eyes began to shake, his frustration ebbed. I do want you to be around, but I didn't know it would be like this. It's not the same, and nobody said anything. His expression grew tense. She threaded her fingers together and placed her hands in front of her on the table. We've both been gifted together. Oh my god. We've both been gifted another Clifford surprise. Oh my god, another Clifford oh my god. Another Clifford surprise. Referring to that as a Clifford surprise. Oh my referring to that as a Clifford surprise almost caused both you and Cove to crack a smile. You also had no idea that his name wasn't just Cliff. Over 5 years, nobody had ever called him Clifford until now. She smoothed her hair out, not letting go of her stern look. The more things change, the more things stay the same. They had identical sighs, but weakly smiled at each other at one another afterwards. I can go home, Cove. We can still set up a normal trip to my place like before the summer ends. Cove's lips tightly closed together. He seriously pondered the questions. I think I do want you to stay. I miss it when you're not there. My heart. He reached over to close the grabbed his face and planted a kiss on his cheek. Cove tried to wiggle away. Mom, stop. I'm sorry, sweet young men. Oh my. I'm sorry, sweet young men need to be smooched by their parents. If I don't, they'll take away my mom license. Kyra was completely enthused by Cove's admission, though a tone of seriousness did return to her voice. Wait, what?
No.
Oh wait, hang on. Though a tone of seriousness did return to her voice when the conversation continued. You want to talk to your dad too? No. Cove had snapped the word instantly, but reeled his annoyance back just as quickly. Maybe later, not today. I understand. We can shelve it. Thanks, Mom. Thank you for talking to me, little mister. She grinned affectionately at him before turning your way. And thank you. Huh? What did I do? It's easy to act like a baby with your mom. It's harder to keep that up with the neighbor watching. Especially when you really care about what the neighbor thinks of you. She winked. Oh, he very clearly has a crush. It's really cute. She ruffled his hair with a laugh, then moved her hair and down to the end of his nose. And that was how the issue was resolved, at least between Cove and his mom. The three of you left the restaurant. Kyra had paid the bill. You walked back to your neighborhood slowly. You'd eaten so much by that time, you were beginning to feel sleepy. It didn't help that the lunch had happened so late and that the sun was already beginning to descend into the sky. From the sky. But eventually you reached your street. Someone was there to greet you upon arrival. Welcome back, family. Let me plug in my headset. It is getting low. Welcome back, family, and Chad too. Cliff. Dad. The two walked past him into the condo without sparing another word. Despite the summer heat, their shoulders were cold. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. His hair looks really, like, nice with that curl in it. He rubbed the back of his neck with a crooked smile, but his eyes were soft as he looked on after them. He's so much— oh, hi, alarm. My alarm just went off. I'll try to remember to take it on afterward. He's so much like his mom, don't you think? You gave a vague nod, not really sure what he was expecting you to do. He nodded back, far more energetically. Okay, have a nice night, Shad. You too, Mr. Holden. With that, Cove's dad disappeared to join the others inside. It was your turn to go home now. Summer hadn't started off at all how you imagined it would have, though it turned out to set the tone well. Having Kyra in the neighborhood was a new experience for not only you and Cove, but also both your families, and a dull moment was rarely had. Okay, we're gonna save here, and that's gonna be it for the night. And I'm actually legitimately, like, invested in this. So there's 100% gonna be another stream, because I don't know. I definitely see what everybody was talking about with, like, liking it, because I genuinely have never heard a single negative thing about this game. I understand now. So definitely will continue playing it probably next week. So it'll be a bit, but it'll come back. I like it. I'm invested. I'm intrigued. And we're gonna put on music, and then that's gonna be it for the night. And then I will be back tomorrow.